you ready? Okay. Hi. Staff? Joe? You guys ready? I think I'm gonna let you go first. So you don't have to, yeah, sit through it. Sorry, Haley, I can't do this. Okay. Good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Caldwell Hearing Examiner. It is Tuesday, April 28th, and it is 1:30. This is a public hearing, and my name is Sabrina Durchie. I will be your hearing examiner for today. I can hear quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use matters and applications for the City of Caldwell. During the public hearing process, public oral testimony will be taken from those in attendance and those who have signed up the sign-up sheet to speak that's available at the front of the room. When you testify, you must come to the podium, please speak into the microphone, and state your full name and address. And all comments should be addressed to myself and should be relevant to the application. Once the public hearing is open, we'll first hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative. They will be given 10 minutes to speak. After the applicant, the staff will then present their staff report and findings, and then I will open up the public testimony to everyone who has signed up to speak in favor, neutral, or in opposition. This person will be limited to 3 minutes of testimony. Finally, the applicant or the applicant's representative will then be permitted for a 5-minute rebuttal. After the rebuttal is given, the public hearing portion of the hearing will be closed and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed unless I decide to reopen the public hearing. We request that everyone treats all parties with fairness and respect, and we are required by Idaho State Code to take written minutes for all of our public hearings. Therefore, please silence your cell phones throughout the duration of the meeting. So, I've taken a look at the agenda, and we have an old business item and a new business item. Typically, I have to hear the old business items first, then the new business item. But today, I'm going to do things a little bit different, and we're going to listen to the new business item first. New business action item, case number SUP 26-02. The applicant is Amber Miller Sims on behalf of Donny Biz at 921 LLC, requesting approval of a special use permit to locate a second-hand consignment boutique in an existing building downtown. The parcel is 0.21 acres and is located at 921 Cleveland Boulevard. Would the applicant like to come up, please? State your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Sims. This is my wife, Amber Sims. We live at 1005 West Linden Street in Caldwell, Idaho.
Great. Thank you.
Just go ahead and give you a little speech for
Yep.
you. All right,
Tell me
cool.
all about your application while you're here this afternoon.
So my name is Richard. This is Amber, my wife. We're proud Caldwell citizens and business owners here in the Caldwell. We truly are excited for the opportunity to introduce our new concept. The Edit Consignment Boutique is proposed at the corner of 10th and Cleveland. The Edit is a modern, curated resale boutique designed to offer something different from traditional thrift and consignment stores. Our concept is centered around 51 individual closet spaces, which local sellers can rent on a weekly basis to showcase their items in a clean, organized, and boutique-style environment. Each week, these closets are refreshed, creating a constantly evolving shopping experience that encourages and repeats visits and community engagements. Sellers set their own prices, and we manage all transactions, customer service, and sales tax, making it simple and accessible for individuals in our communities to participate. Beyond retail, the Edit is a creating opportunity and revitalization. We are providing a low-cost entry point for small-scale entrepreneurs and families to earn supplemental income, a clean, elevated shopping environment that aligns with the growth and vision of Caldwell, a unique destination that brings consistent foot traffic to the area. We are intentionally designing this space to be a boutique, focused, well-maintained, and community-oriented place. This is not a traditional thrift store model. It's structured, curated, and professionally operated. For an operational standpoint, our hours will be Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We anticipate steady, moderate traffic similar to a small boutique retail store. There will be no outdoor storage, no manufacturing, and minimal noise or disruption. Parking demand is expected to remain consistent with typical retail use. We have also taken care to communicate with the neighbors and ensure transparency about our business model. Our goal is to be a positive addition to the neighborhood, both aesthetically and economically. As a longtime resident of Caldwell, we deeply care about this community. Between our existing businesses and our family roots here, we are invested in contributing something that reflects to the direction Caldwell is heading. Through thoughtful growth, local entrepreneurship, and elevated experiences. The Edit is more than just a store. It's a platform for people in our community to participate, earn, and connect. We respectfully thank you for your support in approving our special use permit, and we appreciate your time and consideration. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Great. I don't think I have any questions at this time. We're going to let staff come up and present their staff report, and then I'll let you come back up if I have any questions.
Perfect.
And for rebuttal. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
thank you.
Staff?
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Garlene Davis, Planner 1, 205 South 6th Avenue. The applicant is requesting approval of a special use permit to allow a secondhand retail store in the DCC Downtown City Center zoning district. The subject site is located on the north side of Cleveland Boulevard and the South 10th Avenue intersection. The subject site is part of the original town site of the city of Caldwell. It is developed with a single building containing 3 commercial tenant spaces, including a barber shop and a flower shop. There are no prior land use applications or entitlements associated with the parcel. The subject site is designated downtown core under the comp plan map. Surrounding properties are designated downtown core, special purpose, and urban neighborhood. Staff finds that the proposed use is consistent with the downtown core destination and supports the intended mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented development pattern. The site is zoned DCC, as mentioned, which is intended to support an active commercial type uses. The applicant proposes to operate a second-hand consignment store, which is an allowed use with a special use permit. The use is not expected to create conflicts with surrounding properties. The subject parcels is surrounded by commercial uses. The site has frontages on Cleveland and South 10th Avenue. The existing 3,134 square feet building has 2 tenant suites currently in operation. The proposed use would occupy 1,443 square feet, and no site improvement is proposed as part of this request. The site was reviewed for compliance with applicable development standards. The proposal meets city standards except some landscaping elements. These include a street landscape buffer along South 10th Avenue and perimeter parking lot landscaping and building facade landscaping. However, the site was developed prior to the adoption of those current standards, and the proposed use will not alter the site layout or parking area. Therefore, staff finds no nexus to require those improvements. Utilities are or will be made available to serve the purpose, the proposed use. Political and public agencies were notified and provided comment. Caldwell Fire Department approved the proposal with general conditions of approval. The engineering department and the mapping department approved the proposal without comments. We sent out public notice to property owners within 500 feet radius of the property. No comments were received. Therefore, staff finds the proposal meets applicable city codes, approval criteria, comp plan with the noted limitations. I now stand for questions if you have any.
Thank you. So just walk me through why the special use permit is just because they're in the downtown
Yes.
overlay district?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Oh, well, in the code, the city council wanted SUP for secondhand store to kind of control that kind of use and have an opportunity to review it and not let it just go anywhere.
Oh, okay, okay. And it meets all of our, as you said, applicable zoning standards?
It does.
And code requirements, okay. I don't think I have any other questions. Amber and Richard, would you like to come back up? Do you have anything else that you would like to share with me for this afternoon? Okay, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. With that, I'm going to close our public hearing, and based on the evidence, staff findings, and testimony, I will approve SUP 26-02. You're welcome. Have a great day. Everyone, thank you for entertaining, letting them go first. Now we're going to bump back to our old business item. This is case number DEV 25-10 and SPP 25-019. The applicant is Tiffany Leos on behalf of BST Dev LLC, is requesting a development agreement modification to the previously approved development agreement for Covington Square and a preliminary plat approval for Covington Square, a residential subdivision with 59 single-family lots. The site is 14.89 acres and is located on the south side of West Linden Street, east side of Farmway Road, and west side of Dorman Avenue, approximately 275 feet east of the intersection with Farmway Road. Would the applicant or the applicant's representative like to come up?
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Examiner, Jeff Bauer, 601 West Bannock in Boise, here today on behalf of the applicant. Also with me from the applicant team are development directors, Taylor Schmidt, who can answer any questions if you have any specifics about the project. We are here today asking for your approval for a revised version of the Covington Square project. Before the hearing examiner today, though, I believe is strictly the question of a preliminary plat approval. We do have another pending application related to a development agreement modification, but it's my understanding that that's solely before the city council, and so today I'm
That
going to
is correct.
focus only on
Yes.
the preliminary plat.
Yes.
So we have reviewed the staff report and the conditions of approval, and we're in full agreement with staff's analysis and all of the conditions. So this map does highlight the property's location. We are on the west side of the city. We have frontage on Farmway to our west, Linden to our north, and Dorman to our east. The site is just under 15 acres, and the property is already annexed into the city of Caldwell. And this map shows annexed land in blue, so we do have contiguity to our north and east, as well as some newer city projects down to the southwest. I believe that's the Sierra Estates project. So the property was annexed again in 2019. This was part of the original Covington Square project. It was given an R1 zoning designation at that time. The original preliminary plat provided for 29 buildable lots, each lot being roughly a half acre. So the density of that underlying plat was 1.9 homes per acre. We are asking for a new plat tonight. It is more dense, 59 instead of 29. But we do believe the plat that we're proposing tonight conforms better with the current comprehensive plan, being 7 years later, to provide additional density and a mix of housing types. And I'll get into more detail on that. This is a portion of the city's future land use map. The property is identified with the red star. We are in the Neighborhood 2 zoning designation, and all of the land surrounding this property is also in the Neighborhood 2 land use designation. So we would anticipate that land around us would be developed in a similar fashion as time goes on. Primary purpose for land designated as Neighborhood 2 is low and medium density residential. You can see that on this excerpt from the comp plan. Neighborhood 2 designation does encourage a mix of mid and low density housing, and also encourages a mix of housing types. And again, we're going to provide that with this project. And lastly, our existing zoning, the R1, is a compatible zone in the Neighborhood 2 designation. Not asking for a rezone, as I mentioned, but this is the city's current zoning map. Again, the property identified with the red star. You can see all of the land that has been annexed in the vicinity of this project has the same R1 zoning designation. Originally, when this project was filed, and you may hear some testimony about this tonight, or today, it's weird being here during the day, is that we did ask for an R2 zoning rezone originally. That was withdrawn. We lowered the density from 70 units to 59, and we made the project work within the existing R1 zoning. So no rezone is requested tonight. Okay, so here is a slide showing the requested preliminary plat. Again, a total of 59 homes. There are proposed 34 single-family detached and 29 single-family attached, which would be in a townhome style with two homes per structure, and a gross density of 3.96 homes per acre. The single-family detached are arranged around the perimeter of the property, and that was done intentionally to create some transition to our neighbors to the east, which is existing detached single-family residential, and all of the townhomes are located on that center block in the community. The average lot size for the detached single-family is just around 8,400 square feet, so exceeding the minimum of 8,000 in the zone. And the average lot size for the townhome lots is just over 3,500 square feet, again exceeding the 2,000 square foot minimum there. We do believe the Covington Square revised project we've provided here fulfills the city's comprehensive plan goals to diversify housing options, and it does that by accommodating varying incomes, lifestyles, and promoting affordability, something that the current comp plan really hammers home. Each unit will have a driveway and a garage, and will meet or exceed the parking standards of the code. It's a little confusing. I rotate this so we can look at it as big as possible, but north is to the left, and Dorman is on the top of this slide, but access is off Dorman, and there is an emergency access you can see coming off Farmway. That's kind of that pebble-colored emergency access there. All utilities needed to serve the project are stubbed to the property boundary, and all public services and agencies have responded that they can serve this community as designed. Real quick, just to hit on density again, we are increasing density from 1.9 units per acre in the underlying original plat, which is expired. And I think, again, there will be testimony tonight that, hey, that works better for us, we should keep that. But in reality, the 1.9 doesn't actually meet the city's R1 zoning standards or the comprehensive plan today. So the zone, the range of density that is appropriate today is 2 to 8 in the R1 zone, and we've picked something right in the middle there at 3.96. This slide also shows the densities of existing single-family residential communities that have been annexed in the area. Again, they range from the mid-2s to the upper 4s, So again, we feel like we're compatible there in terms of the density that we're asking for. This is our open space map. We are providing just over 1.8 acres of open space, or 12%. There is one large central amenity that will include an active amenity of a tot lot or a playground, as well as a passive shaded gazebo area. It's got the 8-foot pathway through the center and landscaping. It's also got a turf area for play as well. Did want to highlight too, we do have 8-foot pedestrian pathways connecting from the internally from the project out to sidewalks and multi-use pathways. So along Farmway on the south there, we'll be constructing a 10-foot multi-use detached pathway. And you can see there's a common lot that runs north off that to provide internal access. And we're doing the same thing on Dorman at the end of that cul-de-sac as well. Here's some example elevations. In the left column are the attached townhome, kind of Douai styles, and then on the right are the single-family detached elevations. We'll have a mix of single-story and two-story in both categories to create some variability in the community. And then in the detached, we'll also have some two-car garage and three-car garage as well. So just real quick, again, hitting on the comprehensive plan and the city's housing needs. Comprehensive plan found that by 2045, an additional approximately 9,000 homes are needed, particularly in the category of townhomes or alternatives to detached single family, which is only 8% of the housing stock. So certainly a need for housing in Caldwell, and we're trying to provide that mix with this community. And we think we've fulfilled that here. Lastly, in addition to the conditions that staff proposed, we did have discussions with our neighbor to the northwest recently, and they specifically requested that we limit lots 4, 5, and 6 of Block 1, outlined in red there, to be single-story only. And that's something that we're happy to accommodate. So if we do get to an approval tonight, we'd ask that that be added as a condition and ultimately be included in the development agreement at City Council. And that's all I have for Madam Hearing Examiner. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. So can you, a little bit more about the history of the site. Back in 2019, you had the old plat. And explain to me, it sounds like you had a time extension and then it expired, or can you walk me through that a little bit?
Absolutely. So this plat was approved in 2019. It was before my client owned the property, and I believe it expired in 2 years. So it's long since expired. Okay. So the only entitlements that I believe remain on the property are effectively the development agreement, which gives us the R1 zoning and this kind of standard language right to be developed in substantial conformance with that plat. And so that's the history as I know it. I don't believe, the plat was never acted on, essentially.
Okay. And then as far as the attached units, and this might be a question for Joe, and he might touch base on it during his presentation, but the attached product in an R1 is an allowed use?
Yes.
Correct. It's not, we're not asking for a PUD, we're not asking for a variance, it is allowed. It's principally permitted, okay. Mr. Bowers, I think I'm good for the moment.
Great.
I'm gonna let staff come back up, and then if I do have a few other questions, I'll have you come back up before I open up public testimony.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Just before I go in, just a couple of housekeeping items. One, I want to give kudos to Garlene and her great presentation skills. I'm really glad that we hired her. She's been worked out very, very well for the city. Secondly, this is my last public hearing for the city of Caldwell, so bittersweet. I'm sure bitter for the city, sweet for the neighbors. But I'll be moving on to different pastures
Thanks, Joe, for your time.
Absolutely.
It has been appreciated.
Ditto. So this one before us today is for Covington Square, as noted, development agreement and preliminary plat. As noted, the hearing examiner does not hear the development agreement, so we'll be mostly focusing on the preliminary plat. And I'll get into that in a little more detail later as well. So the subject parcel, as noted, I'll try to not reiterate too much, but approximately 15-acre parcel, southeast corner of Farmway and Linden. Subject site was annexed into the city of Caldwell in 2019 under ANN 19-02 with the R1 designation. It was by a previous owner and developer, as noted. I believe I spoke with them, or it might have even changed hands again between the original and then the current owner. There was an understanding within a year of that original plat being approved, from what I have heard, again, I don't know 100%, but from what I've heard, that they were never gonna make that pencil, and so the 29 lots was never gonna actually work out for them, and that's why it's changed hands since then. Again, can't verify that with anything in writing, but that is what I was told. So since then, Covington Square has expired. I do understand that there was one-time extension since 2019 that made it, the expiration date sometime last year in 2025, but it was at least about a year ago from what I understand. It did have 29 single-family lots and averaged approximately 30 acre or a little bit more at that time. And again, it did expire last year. As far as surrounding land uses, as noted, there are a number of existing single-family residential, as well as a few churches to the north. To the west is Farmway Road, and then a lot of ag land. The subject site itself has appeared to remain in its historical ag use until about 2020, a little after the approvals, where, at least through aerial imagery, it looks like the amount of plowing and taking care of the land has just slowed down over the time. So it's just kind of sat there. Does not appear to be any existing structures on the subject site either. As far as landowners to the west, I have specifically been approached by multiple landowners in this area that utilize Farmway or used to utilize Farmway, and they have noted that they can no longer farm their land in the efficiency that they want, and they are seeking redevelopment in the near future as well because of Farmway being such a major corridor at this time. And then with the widening and everything is going to increase that. So just wanted to note that for context of the surrounding area. As far as comp plan, the site is designated neighborhood 2, as well as every parcel within about a half a mile at least, if not more, to the east. Neighborhood 2 is the most prevalent place type in the city. It encompasses residential areas that provide an array of low and medium density housing options. These areas are supposed to develop in highly connected manners and allow for a variety of housing options, not just large lot, single-family homes. In general, less dense housing is found in areas further from major roadways, but increases in density closer to major roadways. The existing R1 zone is compatible zoning district within this place type, as noted. The applicant initially did submit a rezone from R1 to R2. Following further review and discussion, they withdrew that rezone request and submitted revised drawings last March, which were uploaded to the city website. Therefore, the review within the staff report, as well as this presentation, is based off of the existing R1 and those revised plans that, again, went from 70 lots of, I believe they were all detached homes, actually, and then down to the 59 proposed. For residential projects that do happen within neighborhood 2 designation, the gross density is supposed to be 2 to 8 units per acre. The applicant, with 59 homes on about 14.9 acres, is a gross density of 3.96, which is considered low density. And it is actually less than, as noted, some of the development to the east. Note that the previously approved plat with their 29 lots would not comply with the current comp plan. They are under the 2 units per acre. And to do that, they would have to get a waiver, essentially, from the city council in order to do that number of lots again. In addition, the applicant is proposing 2 different housing types, single-family detached and single-family attached, which further helps them comply with the comp plan, as that is different housing options is noted specifically within this designation. As far as the zone, zoning analysis, the site itself is located in a predominantly developed area. By our definition, it's considered infill because of the adjacent development that's already existing, not just city development, but parcels that have been developed with some type of a use beyond ag. The applicant is proposing a mixture, as noted, of detached and attached single-family residential homes. It conforms to the purpose statement of the R1 district by providing such, because it states that this zone is to provide areas that accommodate single-family residential, including ADUs, townhomes, and duplexes. The proposed density of 3.96 units per acre is compliant with code, which allows up to 8 units per acre, because code matches the comp plan. The proposed residential land uses, both detached and the single-family attached, are principally permitted land uses within the existing R1 district. As far as the layout itself, apologies to the applicant, I'll correct him on his lot counts just in the variation of that. So it's 35 detached and 24 attached for a total of 59. Yes, that's correct. 59 lots. Proposes about 1.8 acres of qualified open space, which is about 12%, whereas 8% is required because of the average lot size. As noted, the average lot size for the detached is over 8,000, and the interior lots is over 3,500, but overall, they're still over the 6,000 average. And so they're gonna have to, 6 to 12 is the 8%. The development is proposed to take access off of Dorman to the east because both the city and the highway district have restricted access to Farmway and Linden as being arterial roadways. Farmway, almost a highway in a way. However, they do have a fire secondary access to Farmway, which is required to comply with fire code, and the fire department has approved that through their conditions. All internal streets are proposed as local streets, and that includes right-of-way adjacent to that out parcel that's directly on the corner, the 1215 West Linden. This would allow the property to take access internal to the site should it ever be annexed and redeveloped. That's not happening, nobody's forcing that, it's just an option and would help that in the future, because as that redevelops, and the highway district put this in their letter, they will restrict access to Farmway and Linden should that site ever be redeveloped. So because the applicant's providing that, they're helping comply, helping that future, could be 20, 30, 50, never years, comply with those access requirements by the highway district. The project was reviewed with all development and zoning standards, and they're compliant with everything except for very minor landscaping, and then some pathway condition, which is just making sure that the full 8-foot width is accommodated for east to west through the site. They have got it in a couple sections, and then as I noted in one of my conditions of my analysis, there's just a couple other ones they need to change that sidewalk from 5 foot to 8 foot, and if they're in agreement with the conditions, then we should be solid prior to council. All utilities are available already to the site or can be made available. So every project is sent out to both the public as well as outside agencies. Caldwell School District submitted 2 exhibits, one letter a few months ago and then one recently because the total lot count changed. They have noted that they're well under their school capacity in Caldwell School District, which is different from Valley View. If anything, they actually wish for additional density within their school district so that they can help serve more students. They also noted in their letter that there's always a need for neighborhood commercial uses, not just residential.
And Joe, this is the new exhibit?
Correct.
That we need to read into the record, Exhibit 1000? Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Highway District 4 also sent a letter. They noted that the Dorman right-of-way is a little bit wider than the typical local street. They also noted that it is classified as a local street, but really functions as a collector. Because of that, they are glad that the access is limited from this development to that, meaning that technically it's a local street. Each of those lots that are somewhat fronting Dorman could theoretically take access there because of the local street. However, because it's functioning as a collector, the Highway District is glad, and so is staff, frankly, that they're not doing that. There's just one shared access out to Dorman rather than
Sure.
10.
Okay.
HD4 also noted the corridor plans for Farmway and the required limited access. This noted specific landscaping along Farmway as well as the 10-foot regional pathway, as well as a roundabout being planned at that Farmway and Linden intersection. ITD commented with no comment. Public notices, as noted, were sent to all neighbors within 500 foot of the exterior boundary of the property. Initially, there were multiple comments against the rezone to R2. That has since changed, but overall, just questions and concerns about the increase of traffic, especially on Dorman. Irrigation water concerns with the increase of development. There was questions about if there was an area for children to play within the development. I think there was just a misunderstanding there. There has been a tot lot proposed, and I even think that was in the original. That's fine. They've asked about a bus stop location, considering how busy Dorman is and whether that would be on Dorman or within the subdivision. And then there was some process questions regarding the existing DA. There was a specific comment made that because the DA is in existence, that we can't hear this until that such time, but normal process across at least the valley, if not the whole state, is that you can run these concurrently. So yes, city council acts on development agreements, therefore they run concurrently with whatever associated development application has been submitted, and then that all gets heard by city council, whereas you can hear them both, so to speak. If you wanted to recommend, or if any hearing body wanted to recommend a DA provision, you're allowed to do that. However, you cannot make a recommendation on that application because that's just not how it's set up. It would be city council only. So I did want to make that clear, both for you as a hearing examiner as well as the public there. So in conclusion, the project is consistent and in conformance with all applicable zoning codes, the approval criteria within our city and Idaho code, as well as the future land use map, comprehensive plan, and other master plans. As an example, these are the required findings for the plat. They have to be compliant with all of them. Within the staff report, I included analysis on each one of those. And for your reference, if you need to discuss it all, it's there as well. And so with that, I will stand for any questions that you may have.
Yes, thank you, Joe. So that's, again, I asked Mr. Bauer, let's walk through the old application. So that was based on our old zoning code,
Correct.
correct? And can you tell me what the old zoning code was for an R1? I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, this would have been within the quote-unquote low-density designation in the old code.
Okay,
And the old comp plan. The old comp plan also required a one-to-one zoning, so there was only the option of the R1 zone if you were in the low-density designation.
okay,
And that limited to no more than 3 units per acre at that time. So obviously, the new comp plan changed. Well, completely went away with that, went to a more modern comp plan that allows multiple zoning districts within the same place type or land use designation. And therefore, R1, R2 is compatible within this area according to the comp plan. And that
So-
also changed the allowable densities.
okay. So we have this old project back in 2019 that got annexed to R1.
Yep,
And at that time, based on the zoning standards, the layout was based on that.
correct.
Now we're jumping to 2026 today, and since this time, we have had a new zoning code, we have a new comp plan.
Yes,
And the R1 that used to be here for the old one, the standards have changed.
correct.
So this site is meeting the new standards for our current zoning code.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not meeting the old one.
Correct.
Okay. And as far as I know, I do not look at the development agreements, and I didn't get to see a copy of it, but I'm
Correct.
assuming the DA restricts? Like, what changes are they needing to make for council, for the DA?
Good question. Typically, I don't draft the DAs for the lower hearing body only because you guys don't
Sure.
act on them. There's multiple avenues that we can go. The anticipation is that the amendment is to terminate the old one and enter into a new one based upon the new proposal, because that's just the cleanest for the history,
Okay.
as well as for everybody to be able to look at the DA and be like, okay, this is for this project approved in X year versus the one approved in 2019. DA will still exist in some format, but it doesn't apply anymore, the old one. The other avenue is to quite literally amend the old one, but then it's gonna be a lot of strike through and a lot of underline that makes it very muddy and difficult to understand, which is why I am proposing to just terminate the old one, do a new one, make it clean.
Okay.
But, so the new one will probably have most of the general conditions of approval within the staff report, with maybe an additional, well, there's some other boilerplate conditions within the DA, but then maybe an additional comment regarding the types of houses proposed, and that because it's R1, they can't do density bonus, which is already in code, but just to make that more clear, and maybe a couple other nuances like that.
Okay. And then with the old code, were they able to do duplexes back then?
Within the R1, don't believe so.
So no, it would not have been allowed. It's allowed
Correct.
now with this one.
Well, single-family attached, not
Yes.
duplexes, so,
Sorry.
no worries.
Sorry. Single-family attached.
I want to say that single-family attached was also not allowed in R1 in the old zoning code. If it
Okay.
was difficult to do, which is why we updated the zoning code to make it more appropriate
To allow for it.
to allow
Okay,
for
I
that.
see. I did notice when I was going through, and since I don't have the staff, yeah, sorry, so
No
I'm
problem.
kind of going off of memory. But I did notice that, I looked at the fire department's letter,
Mm-hmm.
and, hold on one second so I can see what I'm reading. It talks about the nearest, okay, so national standards for travel time, 4 minutes. Nearest fire station, 12, it doesn't say, is that 12 miles, 12 minutes? Closest station in miles is 2.2. What is that 12? It's in the table that they had?
Oh, that's right.
Was that a mistake?
I think that was a mistake, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen the 2.2, because there's other projects that have happened in this area, and I believe the response time, even the one directly to the east that was denied, was not 12 minutes.
So we're meeting the required response time for this site?
Yes, they have not, in any other capacity, told me that they cannot meet the response times.
Okay, all right. So that probably needs to be corrected before it goes to council.
Yes, ma'am.
Just
I
so
will
you know.
make a note of that.
And then, this is probably a question for Haley. Haley, tell us about the roundabout and what's going on Farmway right now and timeline expectations.
Madam Hearing Examiner, absolutely. The roundabout and the closure of Farmway has been a Highway District 4 project. So the Highway District 4 is anticipating that roundabout at Ustick will be completed in May. So I would expect that Farmway will be open by the end of May. I haven't heard from them otherwise. Yes, this May.
This May?
This
Like in,
May.
Like few days, May?
Right,
A couple
not
days?
not a whole other year. I'm
Okay.
expecting this May.
Okay,
Is when that roundabout will be completed and we will be able to open Farmway back up
Okay.
to the
I'm sure
public.
these neighbors are fatigued by not having the access. And
Yes,
then,
I appreciate everyone's patience. I know it hasn't been easy.
and then it sounds like, and we'll probably hear it from the neighbors, but there's concerns about where they're taking access and additional traffic. Have you done an analysis or looked at that, those concerns that they have addressed?
Yes, so for this project, it did not have enough homes to trigger the traffic impact study analysis. So instead of doing a full TIS, instead we worked with master plans and the Highway District and just previous engineering knowledge. So as noted, the Farmway Road does have a corridor plan where access is restricted. And so the Highway District has asked that there be no access taken from Farmway. And then similarly with Linden, the proximity from Dorman to Farmway makes access on Linden not allowable with the proximity between those two roads. And so that remained to just have access along Dorman. It's always preferred when you can align access points. And so having the single access point align with Quail Meadow is the ideal from a traffic flow perspective so that you don't have conflicting turn movements. So I did not see a concern with this access location. As Joe stated, Dorman Avenue acts as a collector, but the Highway District technically classifies it as a local road. So if the applicant had wanted to, they could have taken multiple access points off of Dorman, and they could have had homes accessing directly from Dorman, but they've chosen to listen to the city and the Highway District's requests and to keep just the single access. And they proposed just the single access initially as well. So they chose to just have the single access, limit access on Dorman, and have it aligned with the adjacent subdivision.
And as far as Dorman, is it maintained by the city of Caldwell? Because you're talking about the classification from the Highway District. So is that under Kenyon Highway District then?
That is correct. So Dorman is under Highway District 4. So it is not maintained by the city, it is maintained by Highway District 4.
Is that planned to change anytime soon into cities?
Yeah, so we have an agreement with Highway District 4 that specifies when cities will take over roadways. It comes down to what properties on that road are annexed versus county, as well as if the roadway meets city standards. So as developments come online, the applicant is required to complete their frontage improvements to city standard so that the city may take over Dorman. I don't have timing specifically of when that will happen, as it's very just developer dependent. So once it's, I know Dorman is already quite built out with county subdivisions, so normally we say once the roadway has 50+% is annexed and meeting city standards is when the city takes it over. So for a road like this where it's already well developed around, and I don't anticipate a lot of those county subdivisions wanting to annex, then normally we would say that once the highway district is able to get Dorman to city standards, then we would take the roadway
They
over.
release it and you take ownership. Okay.
Correct.
Great. I don't think I have any other questions at the moment. I think I'm ready to open public testimony and see what the neighbors
Sounds good.
would like to say. Thank you, Joe. Okay. Let's take a look at the sign-up sheet. We have quite a few people that have signed up in opposition to speak, and so we'll just have everyone come up. If you have signed up and you said that you did not want to speak, but you have changed your mind, at the end, I will allow anyone to come back up that has not spoke and have their 3 minutes. So with that, we'll start with Tim and Janet Trumbull. I don't know if both of you guys want to come up? One? Okay.
Thank you. My name's Tim Trumbull, Timothy T. Trumbull, 2903 Farmway Road, Caldwell, Idaho. Our property borders the proposed subdivision on the southwest corner, I think that's right.
Can we get up a map? Can we get an aerial map? Sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'd
No
like to know
problem.
where you live, though, so.
Okay.
Okay. You keep going.
Okay.
Then when it's up, I'll let you know.
It's the half with all the trees on it.
With all the trick, okay.
Yeah. So, this is our property.
Okay. So you're directly south?
Yeah.
Okay?
We've been there for over 30 years, and it's been a field since then, so of course, we're not excited about having a subdivision go in next to us, but we also knew that was gonna happen someday. Had a couple of concerns I'd hope to get addressed. One, I noticed there's there's a setback of 20 feet that looks like it's 20 feet from our property boundary to the wall of the houses. And we'd certainly like to see some sort of buffer zone in there. I see where it's not required, but it would obviously be nice to have between our property and the new subdivision, or privacy fencing or something like that.
Okay.
And I think the only other issue I had that the Covington Square folks may not be aware of now, I brought this up originally, but we have flood irrigation at our property, and it is at the termination of the line or the ditch that goes to our property. So I have several neighbors that also use that flood irrigation. When they use it, it comes onto my property. And there are two drains off of my property that go under Farmway Road. Neither one is actually on my property. One's at the south corner, and the other's on the north corner, which would be on the Covington Square property. Both of those drains go underneath Farmway Road. They rebuilt them when they did the work on Farmway Road.
Okay.
But we need to ensure that those drain, at least the one on Covington Square, stays open and usable, because I don't try and have water come off of my property, but I don't always have control over that.
Sure.
When they did the recent road work, they put a manhole cover right through the ditch. So this year, I'm not sure what's gonna happen, because the ditch terminates right on top of the manhole cover. There, like I said, there is a drain that goes underneath the road, but right now it's been cut off by that new manhole cover.
Okay. Well, let's see. Tim, do you have any other questions? Because while you're here, I think we can get some of those questions answered for you. So, Joe, can we talk about the setbacks? So it looks like he has some backyards that are gonna abut his property?
Madam Hearing Examiner, that's correct. It looks like it's, if I'm looking at the parcel lines, right, about 3 lots. And the rear setback for R1 is 20 feet.
Yeah.
Correct. Doesn't mean they'll build to that, but that is technically where they could build to. These are, again, 8,000 plus square foot lots. Chances are they won't, but I would let the applicant speak to where they anticipate that being. There's not a requirement, as you noted, for a buffer, like a landscape buffer between residential to resident, or well, I should say, single family to single family. You can always work with the applicant on something like that. They are proposing solid privacy fencing
Oh, okay.
along the shared property line, though.
I did not.
So
Okay.
I did not note that in my presentation, but they are proposing a perimeter solid fence.
Okay.
And then, Haley, would you talk about,
don't agree with what they're trying to accomplish. There was no comments from ITD, which is the Idaho Transportation Department, which I think is idiot. They need to get involved and let us know that, no, there's just too much traffic on Dorman. There's no way this is gonna work. So I just wanted to make my comments, because I'm in opposition. I don't want to see it. I think it's too many units, 51 units. You know, they're going to be parking in the streets. They're going to be, it's just going to be a zoo. So just
So-
wanted to,
okay, no,
Make it
I
clear.
appreciate your comments. I just want to go through them real quick. So you're worried about the access limitation?
yes.
But it sounded like Haley said that they're not going to allow access off of Linden or on Farmway, correct?
Just the emergency entrance.
Yes.
And they'll never be able to use
And I
that.
think that they're going to allow, for fire, they have a secondary access onto Farmway.
Yes, that is correct. So there is access, you can see on the bottom, the southern portion of the subdivision, that grade portion that does connect over to Farmway. That will be emergency access, so it will have bollards that our emergency vehicles will have access to remove. So if they need to have that secondary access available, they have that available to them.
But due to the restrictions based on City of Caldwell and the Highway District is what's restricting the applicant from having additional access points that Mr. Pike feels is necessary.
That is correct.
Okay. And then as far as ITD, usually they'll comment on maybe some larger subdivisions that are adjacent to their state highway. So I'm assuming, Haley, is that probably, Joe, why we didn't get a comment from them?
Yes, that is correct. Typically, they only are going to comment on subdivisions that have direct impact to a highway. So the nearest highway to the north or to the south would either be Simplot or Karcher Road. And so
So
they
that's probably
didn't,
why
they
we didn't
didn't
hear from
comment
them.
on this one because it was too far away from their jurisdiction.
Okay. And one other comment.
Yep,
The
please.
1:30 in the middle of the afternoon, when everybody's at work, a lot of people weren't able to come to this meeting to oppose what's going
Sure.
on here. And I appreciate your being here. Last time I was here, we had everybody on board, and I just hope we make the right decision. And
No, I appreciate that. And I think that how they determine what cases I hear and not hear, I can't hear annexations. And so this, since this was already annexed in 2019, That was why it's in front of me. But now, just keep in mind, I'm just a recommending body, and this will be heard by city council, where you'll have the full spread, so.
Okay, well, you guys were with me a month ago, so I hope you will decide to do the same.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Next on my list for opposition, we have Jennifer Merritt. You did not mark either way. It looks like you want to come up and speak. Take your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My
and
name is
address.
Jennifer Merritt. I live on Dorman, right across the street.
Okay,
And Dorman is 1 mile long. So putting that extra subdivision there is like an extra 100 cars trying to pull out at the same time of one driveway, along with everybody else that lives on the road.
sure.
And the other thing I was wondering is, we've been fighting about this R1, R2 thing. And instead of addressing it, they just changed it. So now it's neighborhood instead of R1. So I think previous property should retain the R1, be grandfathered into R1. This is not a mixed density area. My neighbors just sold their house for $450,000. This isn't apartment property. No one wants it, and it will affect the school. It's, all these subdivisions say they won't affect the schools or anything, but when people move in there, they will. And it's gonna affect the water, on our taxes, and bonds, and everything else they're gonna put in there. But is there a reason we can't just grandfather it in to R1 for properties designated as R1?
That might be a question for Joe. I think it's a legal question, because I understand, and that's why I wanted.
They should be
to have that-
grandfathered in because it was ag when I moved there.
Well, it
They
was-
changed it to R1
Yes,
with specific definitions.
correct.
So
And that has
nobody
expired.
liked those definitions, so they changed them.
Yeah, and then.
The whole thing.
Right, and I understand, that that's what I was trying to explain, I understand that when it got annexed and zoned, it was under one code, and now you're like, wait a minute, we're under a complete different one. But I think legally, by law, they're
What
entitled
about
for
people
the
who
new
have
one.
owned a property over a certain amount of time where it's been zoned or declared, or however you want to say it? If you've owned the property for so long, it should be grandfathered in for what it was.
I don't think that's how the code is considered,
Madam Hearing Examiner, I'm trying to track, I guess.
Because I
There,
know we've had grandfathered in properties before that had exceptions.
she's wanting to know why they get to now, the new code trumps the old code, and why, when they got annexed, why they're not still meeting the old code.
if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, because
Then
R1 or,
it's
yeah,
still
R1, yeah,
it's-
you're saying that now, but R1 never had attached properties.
Fair, so yeah, that's the only difference
that's
between
why you
the
changed
old
it.
code and the new code for
That's why
R1.
it was changed, to get around that, and that's what we're trying to not get around. We don't want to get around that.
Get around, I wouldn't
Have
say we were trying to do
attached,
that, but
attached,
we
however
were,
you want to call them, attached, connected
Yeah, single family
properties. They're
attached.
apartments, townhouses, you can put any name on them, but it's going to bring a whole different clientele of people. It's too many people in one area, and I think it should be grandfathered in for what it was.
But I think as the city reviews it, and I think through state code, is that the new zoning code trumps the old zoning code
Why?
by law.
because
So-
we went through the legal process to update the zoning code.
And
they're not-
I understand your question and concerns, but I think legally, they are entitled to the new zoning code standards.
It just doesn't make any sense, because we're way out. We were county, now we're kind of county, kind
Yeah.
of not. And at the end of Dorman, on U-Stick, going across Farmway, every corner is built out into commercial, multi-use townhouses, and it's gonna be gone. Like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to go down Dorman and turn on that road. It's gonna be downtown townhouses. So this is just gonna make it on the other end too.
Yeah, No, I understand what you're asking, yeah.
And the church across the street, anytime there is a church, they are parked up and down both sides of the road, as far as you can see, and they have two huge parking lots
Oh, okay.
in the back too, and they're all full. But it's parked on Linden past Dorman. And on both sides of the road.
It's full, packed, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, I really appreciate your time, and
So-
thank you for coming and testifying. Next on my list is Brad Crenshaw. Would you like to come up, please?
I'm Brad Crenshaw. I'm at 2909 Dorman, which is directly across the street from this new subdivision.
Are you in the blue area where the other subdivision's at, or?
Yeah.
In the blue area, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of hard to tell on that. It's right across the street.
Okay,
You know, I don't understand. I called and actually talked to Joe one time and asked why we cannot have it come in. If they could come in off Farmway, you probably would lose at least half of us griping about it. I don't understand the explanation because when I go down 2026, there is 1 million entrances right off of 2026 into a subdivision. So I don't get it. So obviously we have a government problem with the county. But if, he also made it plain that basically it doesn't matter what we have to say today and what you have to say, it's gonna go to council. And he's made it
Correct.
clear here too. So I get it. I could
yes.
have went to Golden Corral, but I showed up. But with you, I'm glad I'm here. So,
thank you. Nice to see you.
you know, this is just frustrating. I get these guys need to make money. That's what it's about. It's not about affordable homes for people. It's about making money and using the land. I get it. I'm not anti-growth. It's just the rest of us are gonna suffer through it, through the crap that goes along with building a subdivision. And then, again, the single entrance exit, the street is just a two-lane country road is how I look at it. Right now, we have traffic going down at 50 miles an hour plus because of the whole Farmway fiasco.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it is frustrating
Yeah.
everybody. No matter what they do in the front of this, they can make it all beautiful and have sidewalks and everything else. From this point on, there is no sidewalks. And there's a bunch of old people that walk this street. Horses go up and down this street. I mean, it's in the country, you know, that's how it had the feeling for. Again, talking with Joe, he says there are no plans on the books to put sidewalks up and down the whole street. When you go down the whole street to U-Stick, there's, I don't know, guessing what, 1,000 houses going in down on that end? I would guess 1,000 houses. So when you don't do a study of the traffic patterns, just because this little subdivision doesn't affect it, but you've got all these other subdivisions that are going in that are going to affect it. What Jennifer said about the church on a Saturday and Sunday, because they have things at the church, seriously, Linden is packed on both sides of the street. It is not going to be enjoyable. So when the time comes and my mother-in-law departs this life, we'll probably sell the house because it's going to ruin what we have. So I'll just whine a little bit and then be done because I really do feel like it doesn't matter what we have to say about it.
Well,
Thanks for listening.
no, but Brad, thank you for testifying, and I totally understand your guys' situation where you're like, hey, we had this older plat, now we have a new plat, we have new codes, new rules. And as far as the road and the applicant is, again, and I'm sure they can touch base on, that they probably would prefer having other access points, but again, they're limited by the requirements set
county.
forth by the city and the county. But they are providing additional right-of-way, and there will be sidewalks along their frontage. So Haley, what is the plan? What do we do with these areas in the county that don't have the infrastructure, that don't have the sidewalks for something like that? What is the city's plan for that? So we have better connectivity?
Yes, absolutely, Madam Hearing Examiner. I would love to be able to come into all these areas where there is not curb gutter sidewalk and install it. Unfortunately, the city doesn't have the funding to do that at the moment. And so, right now, the city does rely on these new developments to complete curb gutter sidewalk to help us
But it's
infill.
not, this isn't the city, right?
So
We're
this.
still part of the county.
County,
Part of
correct.
it.
Yeah, so this will be, or this is annexed into the city, and then the road is Highway District 4, you're correct, so that it is not a city road. But we do work in conjunction with the Highway District to try and help with this connectivity. So we do condition new developments to complete out parcel improvements. So for the parcel that is at the corner of Farmway and Linden, we have conditioned this development that they will complete the curb gutter sidewalk for that out parcel if we're able to work with the highway district and have the right-of-way obtained. And then as far as trying to make that connection, that sidewalk connection just citywide, we typically rely on the use of local improvement districts or LIDs. These give property owners the opportunity to have sidewalk constructed at their frontage at the city's dollar, and then the property owner pays the city back over a 10-year span. And so that is how we are working towards making all of those sidewalk connections. There are some areas in other parts of town where we are looking at constructing sidewalk, but we do not have the funding at the moment to be able to work with the county, work with the highway district, and just make those mass connections
Should we not
citywide.
just wait then until you have the money and let them sit on the property? Because again, going down our road, we have open drainage ditch. That's what people are walking beside. There, it's not safe, and when you increase the traffic, I mean, what's it gonna take? A kid getting killed on the street?
Brad? Yeah, I mean, we're only obligated, the applicant's only obligated to make the improvements that they can.
I get
on
it.
that. And again, like Haley said, that there are long-term future plans to do areas to make the connection points to these older areas that did not require sidewalk. But again, that'll happen over time, unfortunately.
Okay,
And
well, we'll
yeah.
just hope for the best.
I know, okay.
Thanks
Thank you.
for listening.
Yes. Okay, next on my list is S. Brown, Susie Brown? Hi, Susie.
Madam Chair, Hearing Examiner, and Caldwell, heads of staff here speaking to us today. I'm very troubled by the traffic. That is where I lie. And I'm at 1008 West Easy Street. And Easy Street is no longer easy. It was a joke when we moved there by our friends, neighbors, colleagues around the globe. But we have found it not to be easy any longer. It is now called by me by Farmway Arrow Easy because we have become Farmway and Arrow in a very short period of time because of the circle on Ustick, on Farmway being built, all being done
Sure.
up there. And
Yes.
that's killing us.
Yes,
I think the
bet.
biggest thing that scares me with that map or something is there is no other exit or anything out of that perimeter of that
For the plat?
59 houses. You're
Yes.
going in and you have to do all the loop and come out. So to me, that's like, I don't know where I headed here. That's 118 cars. So that's 2 cars per house. So we're adding that plus all the other traffic that's designated off Linden, Dorman, Easy, Ustick, from Farmway. And so Dorman is very, very busy.
I'm sure with the
It
roads
has-
being
It
closed
has,
right now. Oh, I
is.
can only imagine.
And you have to live there.
I'm sure, yeah.
You have to live
To
on the
understand,
perimeters.
yeah.
You can come here and stay all you want, but unless you're living on that land around there, coming out every day, you need to come out and spend a night, a week at my house. I'm considered for the children and grandmas and all of us trying to walk and partake type of thing, but the traffic is huge. And it's not going to get better by just that one entrance. And no entrance to Farmway, which is, wow, I can't believe that.
I know, that's.
A developer
yes.
making that. I think I would have stood up in that meeting, but, you know, I've always been a little pistol. Had to be short. I do agree with my fellow Caldwell community person that lives here in this community about the 1:30 timeframe here, not 6 or 6:30. I'm questioning about that. The traffic study, there was none,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
There was no traffic
It didn't,
study.
I think for traffic studies, well, and we can have Haley speak to it, but usually 100 lots is the threshold that.
100 what?
100 lots proposal.
Oh, lots, sorry.
That's what that's
Yes,
the
ma'am.
threshold, that's when it triggers the traffic impact study. So one wasn't warranted for this, as Haley mentioned. And when Brad was up here, he talked about the other developments on Ustick, and those developments were required to have a traffic impact study, correct?
And they
Haley?
did. I was
Yes.
at that meeting.
Were you
and
there?
that-
Okay.
Yes, and that study was incorrect. They
Oh.
must have made that, no, here I am.
Okay.
They must have made the study at 2 a.m. in the morning. Because if they were up from 5, when people, 4:30, starting to go to work, get ready for school, jobs, all of that stuff coming and going, that changed the traffic in our area. It's gone up 78% since 2018, October 25th, because that's when I moved in, 2018, and that,
Okay.
it's gone up that much.
Significantly.
Yeah, it has.
And I believe that when they do the traffic impact studies, they're supposed to be doing them during peak hours. I think they have to do 2 studies, like in the morning and the peak time in the afternoon.
Yeah, they
And I
said-
believe that is a requirement by the city, correct? Can you speak on that, just so that she understands, like, what the requirements are? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So you are correct, there were studies that were done on those southern developments, not for this one. That 100 peak trip out, or that 100 trip trigger, which equates to 100 lots, that's a national standard that we follow. So it's not just City of Caldwell, that is the standard nationally and locally here in the valley. And then, yes, when we analyze the study, we look at the peak AM and the peak PM trip hours. When we have these subdivisions that don't meet that, that's when we rely back onto our master planning documents. So we have the Caldwell Area Transportation System Plan, where we assume growth throughout the city at a rate, and we update it every few years. I'm proposing that I can update it next year, where we continue to look at, there are new subdivisions that you can't perfectly plan for all the subdivisions where they're going to be, how much there's going to be. We use our planning documents to account for densities, but sometimes we're wrong. It's a bit of an art. It's not a total science because we can't fully predict the future. So we do rely back onto our master planning documents, and we make those predictions the best that we can, recognizing that we go and update them every few years to make sure that we're accounting for subdivisions like this that come online.
Well, where is all the extra traffic going to go? I mean, you're saying 59 such detached, attached, whatever those homes consist of, and the people that are going to live there, where is all that traffic going to go? I mean, does every person there owning a home, whether it's detached or attached, do they have a double-car garage so they can park their cars off the street? So he's saying yes. Okay, so,
Yeah, Susie, they'll have driveways and garages that will accommodate for 2 cars. So
but
they
if
should
you're right
have
next
ample
to somebody,
parking.
you're going to have no overflow to go because you're going to be in somebody else's, you know, when you got 2 houses attached right here.
So what are you explaining, when,
So like you're showing on the thing, it looked like you were having a house here and a house here that was kind of together. They each had their garage, they had their driveway to get into their home. But
Yes.
that's the only place they're gonna have to go. There's not gonna be a buffer. Is there a buffer zone that if they have too many cars, they're gonna have an area for parking?
well, I believe.
Madam Hearing Examiner.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So all of the internal local streets are local, so they can park on the street inside. All of the exterior lots are at least 60 feet wide, if not more. The driveway will be 20 feet-ish. So there will be gaps in between each of the driveways to park like any other subdivision that exists. Well, not any, most single-family detached subdivisions. As far as the attached products, parking directly in front of them, probably not. But then they also have the roadways that are on the north and adjacent to all of the open space areas that would have available parking spaces. So that it's kind of a combination of no and yes for the central portion. So there should be ample parking within the development, both on the
like-
driveway, in the garage, and on the street.
So you have been on Dorman?
I have not been on
Have you ever
Norman, no. but
driven
this
on
is-
Dorman? No.
I have not been on Norman, no, but you're talking internal to the development.
I'm
Hopefully,
talking just, have you been on the street on Dorman and ridden in our community?
I have not ridden down Dorman or drove down Dorman, no.
Because it's not a street that you can, I mean, if there's overflow parking coming out of that community, they're all going to park on Dorman if there's no other places to get it.
The anticipation is that they won't park on Dorman because of all the
Well,
internal available
and
parking.
there's no
But
yeah.
things happen, understood, just as the church. Nobody would deny a church, so I'm sure that, they have the overflow right as well. So I do understand your point
Yeah,
there.
we understand, too, yes, but there should be enough internal public frontage streets that allows any overflow parking to be retained on site, so.
I'm not, yeah, I wanted to look at you. I'm not here to make me be a pain in the, I'm sorry, ma'am, pain in the ass. I just wanted to have a good flow on those streets for all of us.
Yeah.
It's just commonsensical. I come from that age. So I'm going on to 80 with common sense, trying, not always perfect, but I was just trying to understand how much more flow is going to be, are we going to handle on Dorman, coming on to Ustick and Easy Street, because it's a fight for traffic right now, and I appreciate
Understood.
all that you do
Yes,
for us
thank you,
and you
Susie.
yourself.
Yes,
But
thank you.
please hear us. Traffic is
listening.
huge.
Yes, I understand.
Traffic is huge, and whoever it was, Tiffany, the company, they did not address it. I
Okay.
do not feel personally they've addressed it nicely for the common community of Caldwell.
Okay, well, the
And our
applicant.
area.
Okay, Sue, so the applicant will come up after everyone's done, have rebuttal time, and I'm sure he's taking note that, that's something he needs to address for you, okay?
For me.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, next I have Peggy Waterman. Would you like to come up and speak? Please take your time. Thank you, Peggy.
I'm Peggy Waterman.
Okay, a little closer to the mic. Yeah, come on up.
I'm Peggy Waterman. I live at 4603 Middlesboro Way, and that's kind of out of the area, but some 60 years ago, I moved to the house at the corner of Farmway and Linden, and Dorman ran up the east side of my place. So I'm pretty well acquainted with
Okay.
Dorman. Actually, almost everything has been said that I was going to say, but I sold the 14 acres to Adam Furierman, and he told me that it was going to be the 29 houses, and I saw the plat. And one thing that a couple of people brought up is that cars back up from the church when something is going on there on Linden. I want you to know that they also back up on Dorman around the corner.
Yes, like Susie was
Excuse
saying.
my
Correct.
allergy here, I can't
No
talk.
problem.
And the one thing that I feel hasn't really been addressed is is Dorman itself. It was a country road, dirt road, when we moved out, and of course it's been paved, but it's narrow, and I don't know for sure how there will be room to make all of these improvements, sidewalks and whatnot. There are a few stretches of sidewalk now, but like they've said, open ditch. I don't know what it's going to be like when all the cars want to get out in the morning, and as you come out onto U-Stick, that's a very busy road. It's going to be a lot busier. And fixing up Dorman itself, I think, is going to be a major project. And I don't think it's a safe road for all this traffic.
Okay.
And sorry, I don't sound better. Anyway,
Fine.
that's the main thing I have to say.
Okay. So when development occurs, they have to provide enough right-of-way. So that means that they have to take a portion of their land that abuts the road for improvements. This will include improvements to the road as well as curb, gutter, sidewalk. So they have to find the space. It's going to be required by the development for those improvements. And then, Haley, when do you determine if a turn lane analysis is necessary for projects?
Oftentimes, a turn lane analysis will be part of the traffic impact
TIS,
study. Typically, I'll require the turn lane if there's access on a arterial road. So Farmway is an arterial roadway. So if there were to be access, then I would have required a turn lane. Typically, we do not require turn lanes on local roads, given the speed of the roadway. I know there has been a lot of questioning as to why there's only one access on the local road and there's not access on Farmway. You know, above and beyond just, this is what the requirement is, this is what the standard is. I'll take a step back and just say, we typically like to have access points on low-speed roads so that we can minimize any type of impact or accident, And so the reason that we don't have the access on Farmway, the reason that we are not allowing the access on Farmway is because it is a high-speed road. And so we do want to avoid those crashes with people turning onto or into and out of that subdivision. So we're trying to keep the access on our local road, which is Dorman, to minimize those types of accidents. I recognize that that does mean that the whole subdivision will be routed down Dorman, which is a rural-feeling road, but that leaves the safest traffic maneuver for the system as a whole. So to answer, I guess, sorry, Madam Examiner, going back to just the turn lane analysis, on a local road, we would not look at a turn lane analysis. It would be for a major roadway such as Farmway, or even if there was access on Linden, we would probably look at having that turn lane added.
Sure. Okay. I was just out of sheer curiosity since they're talking about the traffic volumes.
Yes. And when you're
Sorry.
meaning the turn lane, I'm thinking of like a right-hand
Yeah.
slip lane for
Yes.
people to turn.
Yes, to get off the road to turn into the subdivision.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then on roadways other than local roads, we do have that center turn lane
Okay.
for people making left. For Dorman, this is an unstriped local road, so there won't be a striped turn lane.
Okay.
But there will be the maneuverability for people to make that turn one day in the future when the road is built out per master plan standards.
Okay. One day.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I guess the last thing I would say is that I don't think you can make Dorman into a safe road with the extra traffic that is coming it's just too narrow.
Okay.
It's still a country road.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. And then, Joe, there's a little discussion about why I'm hearing this, why this wasn't on, for planning and zoning. Can you address that real quick?
Sure. I'll see how much I can say without getting in trouble. There's a combination of things that's in code that
Okay.
defines what hearings, what types of applications you can hear
Correct.
versus the P and Z Commission. State statute dictates a lot of that, and a lot of it's broad because we're in the state of Idaho, and they do less top-down regulation than other states. Because of that, we were allowed to utilize the hearing examiner for certain things, while the P and Z Commission has to. Pretty much the only requirement that the state statute does discuss is that commission versus the hearing examiner has to hear annexations
Correct.
and comprehensive plan amendments.
Okay.
And I believe maybe zoning text amendments as well.
The
So like when we
planning zone.
update the zoning code, that would have to go to P and Z Commission versus
So the
you.
criteria of this application met the standards that I can
Correct.
hear the case? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Joe, for that explanation. So next on my sign-up sheet is Teresa Waterman. Hi.
Give you a copy of my testimony.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you, that'd be great.
I have some exhibits.
Okay, yeah, okay, perfect.
And then I'd like to have one to the clerk so that she can have it.
Do we want to read this in as an exhibit? Was it 1001? 1001 for new exhibit.
My name is Teresa Waterman, 1215 West Linden Street. Thank you for allowing me the time today to submit my comments. For the record, I oppose the current proposal submitted by the developer. Although the developer has modified his original plat proposal from R2 to R1 and 68 houses to 59 houses, it's important to note that the current designation is R1 low density with a maximum of 29 lots. This is the agreement that the City of Caldwell and this neighborhood agreed upon in 2019. Today, the developer is asking our neighborhood and the city to give approval so he can build an additional 30 houses. And also for the record, the plat has expired, but the development agreement has not expired on this piece of property. The current development agreement for Covington Square, which is Exhibit A in your packet, consists of 29 lots, which are approximately a third acre or larger. As you can observe from Exhibit A, the 2019 agreement of 29 large lots melds with our neighborhood. Dorman Street, Marshall Way, and Linden Street is a low-density community. Many of these homes are 1 to 3 acre lots. Our property, as well as the two properties at the end of the field, were guaranteed in the 2019 development agreement a low-density neighborhood with a minimum of a third acre lots, which would provide a natural buffer zone between our lots and the houses to be built next to our properties. The current proposal the developer has submitted takes away the buffer zone and takes away the low-density housing provided to us and our neighbors in the original agreement. In Exhibit B, the plat submitted to the City of Caldwell in December 2025 did provide a buffer between our property and the proposed subdivision. If you compare that plat to the plat he is bringing before this hearing today, which is Exhibit C, you will see he has moved that line back, removing the buffer that was guaranteed us in the original development agreement. It appears the line was moved back to accommodate larger units. This was done, in my opinion, to recoup money the developers were foregoing when they reduced the houses from 68 to 59. They also added an additional 2 townhomes to the current preliminary plat. The developer reached out to us several weeks ago, which we appreciated, asking for our support for his new 59-lot proposal. We let him know the concerns we just shared with you. After discussing our concerns with his investors, the developers were unwilling to move the property line back to the December 2025 preliminary proposal. They were also unwilling to commit to guaranteeing single-level homes next to our neighbors' properties at the end of the field. And they are unwilling to enter into a legally binding agreement which would assure our legal interests in the event that the property were sold. The only item the developer agreed to was to assure us that the 3 units next to the east end of our home would be single-level. Conversely, the developer is asking us that we and our neighbors give up the buffer zone that was legally agreed to in the 2019 development agreement. He is asking that we give up on the agreed-upon 29 lots that were a third acre or larger in the 2019 development agreement, and he is asking that we trust him. That if the city of Caldwell chooses to approve his 59 houses, that he will not sell the property to one of his LLCs or another developer, allowing the developer to come back to the city at a later date with an even greater density request. For these reasons, I am asking you to deny the proposed preliminary plat design submitted today.
Okay, thank you. So can we talk about this exhibit?
Sure.
And this buffer? So
Yes. This
Joe,
was-
do
this
we
was
have
what
this,
was
like the
submitted.
buffer that was on the old application? Can you show where that's at? On the old plat?
It's on your website for Covington Square from December. It was December 2025.
I didn't even look at that plat because it ended up changing.
But that was the plat that they had.
And then I know in this one that's
Oh,
on
I
the
see.
screen is the original, and there's
So
no
you're
buffer
saying
on that.
When they,
So this one right here
This is the
is
part of the
the
DA.
original 29,
Yes.
and this was the one that they had.
okay, we need to stay
that
by
you
the
had it
microphone.
from last year that they submitted. And there's a buffer zone between our home. This is our bedroom right
Teresa.
here.
No.
And they
Teresa.
had this buffer zone between our home and
Teresa,
theirs.
you gotta
have
go
to-
back
We have
up
to
there.
stay by the microphone, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay, I understand, it's emotional, I get it. So you're saying with their original application, when they came in for the rezone, they
Yes.
had a buffer
Yes.
between, okay.
Yep,
And
that's
you
your
guys,
exhibit too.
you guys live in the out parcel that's on the corner of Farmway and Linden, correct?
This is our home right here.
And that's all one large parcel, correct?
Yes, it's
Okay.
almost 3 acres.
Okay, and so when the applicant talked about those 3 homes that they have flagged as single family,
Yes.
that is not agreed upon by you guys.
No, we said to him, could you make those single levels, and could you move that line back? And if possible, we could buy that border, so that we would have that space between our home.
Oh, okay,
And
'cause it
they've
notches
denied
out.
all of
Okay.
it. The only thing they agreed to was that they would be single level homes
Okay,
next to our property. But see,
okay,
you have to understand that in the original agreement, these lots were gonna be a third acre, and we were only gonna have 2 lots abutting our property, and they were gonna be at minimum of third acre. And so there was gonna be a huge buffer with their backyard and the fence between our property. And now that's been all taken away. And so, and it's not just us, it's what the neighbor said at the end, that they also had that buffer because there were only gonna be 2 homes and there were gonna be large lots, which was going to be set back so that it gave more privacy to the neighbors.
and,
I just want to let you know, we don't want to be fighting this.
No, I understand.
But we want to keep our neighborhood and our property the way that it is, that's what we bought. When we bought the property from my mother-in-law, we understood going in that this was going to be 29 large lots, and that's changed. And the development agreement is still in place. And so they're coming to you, the plat has expired, but the development agreement has not expired. And you're not taking that up, the city
no,
council
because
will take that up.
legally I can't.
Correct.
So I haven't even seen it, that's why I was
Correct.
asking Joe some
Right.
questions. So that will definitely be brought up for
Correct.
council. So
But
all I
I
can
just-
look is their
But
pre-plat.
the reason that I brought this up
Yeah.
to you today was because this was the plan that they had submitted last year.
And it
but-
had that green space.
And that had the green space.
you liked it.
But, yeah, we wouldn't be fighting it. But this is what it comes down to. When they moved down their homes from 69 to 68 to 59, in my opinion, they're trying to recoup that money, so they moved that border back, and they added 2 additional townhomes in there. And we're just asking for them to be good neighbors, and they can move at least part of that line back. But it's not just that, it's that we are not wanting to give up the rights to the 29 lots in light of the legislation that just passed from the state, that you can come in and build.
With ADUs.
Exactly.
And duplexes,
And
yes.
so as long as we have a 29 lot agreement, once they open it up and say, now it's 59 lots, and then they come back, and when the city says, okay, we're gonna change our mind and we're gonna give you what you want, then there's no reassurance for the neighbors that they're not gonna come back and do it again. And so that's why we're asking that you can see that we asked for reassurances from the developer, and they're not willing to give those. And there has to be if you want to be a good neighbor and you really want this to go through, then shouldn't you be working with the neighbors to see and listening to their genuine concerns and be willing to give up some of it? Because they were guaranteed they bought a piece of property that was 29 lots. That's what they paid for. They didn't pay for a lot that had 59 houses on it. And now they're coming back to the city and they're saying, that's not enough. We want more money. Please give us another 30 houses. And our community in 2019, we said, okay, 29 large lots. This is going to fit within our community. And that's why they agreed to it. And that was part of the annexation. And now it's being taken out from underneath us. And so people are upset. This is our home. This is our neighborhood. We've already had one neighbor on Dorman Street that sold their home because they didn't want to be next to this crazy big subdivision. And another one has their house up for sale. We have property rights too. They bought a small piece of property within a large neighborhood. And in our opinion, the city shouldn't be giving them more rights than they bought.
Well, Teresa, I appreciate your exhibit. I appreciate you coming up and testifying. We're not before us is not the old application, as you know, like it's
Correct.
expired. And so, I've not seen the DA, but if they did put the buffer back in, if they did put some kind of strip, would that appease some of your concerns?
It would appease some of the concerns, and we let Taylor know that. And I want to say publicly that I appreciated Taylor reaching out to us, because I told him when he came to our house, we would rather do this behind closed doors than do it out in the open. And so we gave him our concerns, and I put in my testimony that every single one of them were denied, except that he would guarantee single-level homes next to our homes. But he wouldn't guarantee that next to the properties at the end of the property.
To the south? Where-
Their home,
Yes.
and then there's another
Where
home
Tim
on the.
lives, Tim and Janet, okay.
So it's just, would be respectful for the neighborhood if they would be willing to guarantee single-level homes on those properties, as well as single levels, not only next to our house, but to move that buffer back from our bedroom. And so
That landscape buffer, yeah.
I just want to let you know, I hate this. I don't like doing this. I'm a nice person, and I get really, maybe sound like I'm angry. I'm not. I'm just nervous.
No, and
So my mouth is dry.
I totally appreciate you coming up, and it is emotional. It's you guys' homes. You guys, I completely understand, and that's why it's important to come up and testify, so we get the full picture.
Right.
So, and I appreciate that.
Right. But I know that you're not deciding on the development agreement, but you are deciding on this plat that he's
Well,
proposing.
I'm just going to provide a recommendation. So
Okay.
everything, the city council will be the final decision maker. So,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Madam
Try
Hearing
my
Examiner,
best.
I did just want to touch on the DA question or comment that she had. I think that there's, council and the city are going to have an issue with the development agreement, because if they denied this project, or any project for that matter, the existing plat would have to come back through the public hearing process if it was the 29 lots. And one of the approval criteria is that it has to conform with the comp plan, and it does not conform with the comp plan. And so there's going to be some interesting legal,
Have we talked to the
Things.
city attorney about this yet?
not yet, no.
Is he briefed on this?
I'm sure to some degree, yes. But my point being that there will be some things that are gonna come up regarding that, because the existing development agreement does not comply with the existing
current zoning code.
comp plan and zoning
It
code, et cetera.
complied with the old code.
Right, and so if you deny a project that is consistent with those and then make them do a project that's not consistent, I don't know how we, as the city, approve all of that. It's messy, for sure. So I just wanted to make that clear for you as well as the residents, that it's going to be an interesting situation.
Sure, okay. Okay, so we had Teresa, I have her exhibit. Now we have Christopher Altwer. Would you like to come up? Hi, Christopher.
Good afternoon. Christopher Altor, 3308 Dorman Avenue. Thank you for your time this afternoon. We are not blind to the growth of Caldwell. Our concerns as a community is the overcrowding of our neighborhood. It is not the answer for what our community needs. Adding density to the property located on Dorman Avenue would only increase the pressure on local infrastructure that is already stretched to its maximum capacity. You cannot compare this development to a generic neighborhood in Caldwell. Please note that the Manchester neighborhood, that is what they based off of, is a half a mile in distance from the proposed development on Dorman Avenue. To give you a visual facing the proposed development is Quail Meadows subdivision located adjacent to Dorman Avenue. You need to maneuver through Quail Meadows subdivision to get to Manchester neighborhood. This shows that Dorman Avenue is the actual surrounding neighborhood and is zoned R1 predominantly with a lot size minimum of 1 acre up to 14 acres that directly surrounds the proposed development. Dorman Avenue is a gateway for the proposed subdivision. It is also the main gateway for Quail Meadows subdivision currently. Quail Meadows is a subdivision facing the proposed development. Dorman Avenue provides direct access north to Linden and south to Ustick Road, making Dorman Avenue a primary connecting street to Farmway and Cleveland Boulevard, resulting in everyone, including the new proposed subdivision, using Dorman Avenue as their primary road, meaning Dorman Avenue will be greatly impacted in a negative way due to the new development. The development will be adding additional traffic to a county road, not a city road, but a county road that is not maintained and has no sidewalks for the 1 mile stretch going from Linden to Ustick. Increasing the density of housing in this property will add unsafe measures to what is already a neglected thoroughfare, which has been increasing due to the surrounding developments. The 7 developments in the area that are currently in the building phase, approximately 700 to 1,200 homes in the adjacent around our neighborhood, that will be adding additional traffic to Dorman Avenue, shows we do not need higher density plotting in our neighborhood, particularly on this property. The original 2019 plot plans would keep the scale, character, and intensity that remains compatible with the existing residential development in the pattern in the area. Even though we do not agree with the development, the maximization of density is not the answer. The best resolution is to adjust the plot mapping to best match the existing infrastructure currently in place, which is low-density single-family homes. The street currently on Dorman Avenue there are no stop signs, speed bumps, sidewalks, road markers. There are no street lights. There's no defined bus stops. There's not even a complete shoulder to the road. There is an open irrigation ditch on one side, and to the west side, there are residential driveways which do not transition to a completed shoulder to the street. So adding more traffic to an already neglected, degrading road would only increase a safety risk. In addition to all of that, since there is no safety concerns when these developments are implemented, the problem is that the county oversees the road, but the city is adding additional traffic to the road. So going forward, I don't believe the city has any intention or can at any way support maintenance or improvements to the road. And it sounds like, she's not here right now, but it sounds like IDT is not going to also do any improvements to the road or safety measures being added to that road with the additional traffic. The biggest problem we have on that road is it's basically a raceway going from Linden to Ustick. There is nothing stopping someone from going 70 miles an hour down that road. I see it every day. My son walks to a bus stop that's located in a ditch because there's no improvements to that road. Adding additional traffic to that is only going to increase the safety risk to everyone, not including the new proposed development. There are no turn lanes on that road. There are no center median. There are no additional safety measures being considered. So I don't believe the city has any plans to, according to IDT, take over that road. So going forward, it's kind of a free-for-all for anyone that that wants to get hit or that's gonna drive down the road at 90 miles an hour. So going forward, every meeting I've been to, no one ever addresses the safety risk to any of this. It's just add another subdivision and keep moving along, keep chugging along. The end of Dorman Road heading south will have another subdivision going in soon. I don't know if these traffic studies take into account future development. It sounds like they do not take into account future development.
They're supposed to.
If we look at the mapping right now, look at what's going on, I do not believe that's the case, because if that was the case, then there'd be safety measures put in, as in speed bumps or traffic signs or street lights, improvement to the road. The chip seal they just did was a horrible chip seal. It wasn't done very well. There's no defined lines after the chip seal. The shoulder's already degrading from traffic. It's not the responsibility of the community to maintain, it's responsibility of the governing body to maintain the road, and that's not happening.
No, I understand that.
It sounds like, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it sounds like nobody really wants to take responsibility for maintaining this road.
Well, I think right now, it's under Canyon Highway District Number 4's purview. So they're supposed to be maintaining the road. I know we had correspondence from Mr. Hopper, from the Highway District, but do they have any plans? I mean, have you had any conversations? And maybe this would be good to have a conversation before city council to see if they're gonna be upgrading that road at any time, especially upgrading to the point where it meets city standards, so you can take over ownership of it?
Absolutely, and I apologize, I had to step out for a minute.
No problem.
Baby wouldn't let me sit still one more minute. I have not heard that Highway District 4 is planning to improve this road other than just their typical maintenance at this time, but certainly, Madam Hearing Examiner, I'm more than happy to reach out to them prior to city council and get an answer from them.
I think that'll be important, because I think that's a lot of the residents have that question in mind, and it would be nice to have an answer from them.
Yes, absolutely. I will reach out to them and speak with them specifically about Dorman Avenue before city council.
Okay.
I think the biggest concern is that adding more homes to this is not going to benefit anyone in any way. It's simply going to add to another safety risk that's already on a dangerous road, which has become even more dangerous due to the farmway being down. I've heard that farmway will open up, and then there was another statement mentioned earlier of it's going to close immediately after being open in several months to do roadwork improvement for sidewalks and for upgrades. So it'll open for a short time, then close again. So
Okay. Haley, do you know
So
anything about
Farmway will be opening. Any improvements along Farmway Road wouldn't be a full closure, and it would be driven by private development as they are required to complete road widening, curb gutter sidewalk. You mentioned lighting. They're also required to do any street lighting. So it wouldn't be a full roadway closure. And I can't control the timing of when private developers, once they've been entitled, when they want to proceed with completing their approved project.
So with that being said, there are new developments going in just to the west of Dorman, west of Farmway. So the road will open, eliminating traffic shortly, and then close again, or be limited again shortly, because those developments have already been plotted and implemented. If you look at the comp plan and you look at the proposals going in soon, that it's a temporary opening.
Sure.
It will close again, and this will continue to be an issue going forward.
But I think as far as the improvements along Farmway and the roundabout will be open soon. And that'll probably help alleviate some of the traffic issues. But as Haley mentioned, if there's other developments that are approved and they're required to make improvements, then yes, there probably will be some future temporary closures.
Well, I hope the suggestion to the council will be to limit limit sizing in the future. This is going to increase in a negative way, so hopefully a revision of this to a smaller density or lower density would be the best option. But thank you for your time. I have to
you,
get
Christopher.
my son to school, so.
Okay, well,
thank
thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Next, I have Nicole Altwer? Nicole? No? Okay. Okay, you guys have a good afternoon. Next is Courtney Thompson.
Madam Hearing Examiner,
Hello.
thank you for your time. I just would like to start with, I really appreciate your empathy and compassion for those being affected, and your willingness to see the actual issues that everyone faces. Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is Courtney Thompson. My address is 203 Wynn Avenue here in Caldwell. Okay.
Before you begin, where exactly, proximity do you live to? next to?
I don't live there. My parents are Tim and Janet Trumbull, and
Oh,
we are
okay.
always over there. My children are always
Okay.
over at their
And
grandparents'
they're the ones that
house.
live south, okay,
Yes,
yes.
correct. That's my childhood home. We actually moved there from Meridian, and when my parents said we're moving to the country, I thought my life was over. It was like the end of the world, and in hindsight, I am so grateful that I got to grow up in the country where I did. And I would love for my children to continue to have that same experience that I had growing up. Caldwell is a beautiful, unique place. I grew up, went to college, I moved out of state, and my husband and I are both from Caldwell. We moved back because we loved it so much, and we wanted our children to have that same upbringing that we had. One of the things that I am concerned about is the water situation, and I know that at the last meeting that my mom and I attended, there was discussion that they were going to put in one central well in the subdivision, but then here today, it sounds like it's going to be city water, and I would love some clarification on that.
Okay, we can help you with that.
Okay.
But let me know all your concerns. and I
Okay.
can go through them, so,
Thank you
yes.
so much. One of the things that, like I said, my husband and I loved about Caldwell was its charm and, the country feel. And I feel like Caldwell is losing that rapidly. It has lost a lot of that charm. And my concern is that the density being proposed right now is too much. And for all the concerns that everyone else have, I absolutely second those concerns. I think the traffic is going to be outrageous. I think the safety is a real concern, especially if you have young children around. I think that the person that this benefits the most is the developer, who has been dishonest, in my understanding at best, in his dealings. So, in their dealings. I don't have confidence in the integrity of the developer as far as the things that have been promised, taken back, and there's no willingness to budge. It seems like something that is going to take away the charm of Caldwell, take away that beauty, be an issue potentially for the safety of a whole lot of people, and to line someone else's pockets. And yeah, I guess I have a lot of concerns with that, and there was a concern that it would be inconvenient to not have this pass, because for the issues that, I'm sorry, what was your, Mr. Dunson? The issues that he brought up, it sounds like it would definitely be an inconvenience for the developer to have to come back because of the reasons that he stated, and I
Right, doesn't
understand that.
match that new
But
comp
it's an
plan, yeah.
inconvenience because this wasn't dealt with the way that it was promised initially,
Sure.
so.
But you understand, like, who made that initial promise isn't the same applicant. Unfortunately, it's changed hands, it sounds like, a few times, which I think has made it overly complicated for everyone, unfortunately.
Right.
As far as the well, this will be whenever you get development in the city, they have to hook up to city services.
Okay.
So there will not be a well.
Okay.
It'll all be city water, sewer, and irrigation, they'll be hooking up. Is there gonna be a well on site for irrigation? Have you designated this area?
Madam Hearing Examiner, there likely will be a well on site for irrigation. We haven't gotten that far along in the design discussions with the developer at this point in time. That's typically something that we work through with them during construction document review, so after a property has been approved. I'm sure the applicant already has plans for how they're going to manage their irrigation water. I'm sure that they receive some water surface flow. I'm not sure if that surface flow water will meet our Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District, CMID. I'm not sure if that'll meet CMID's requirements or not, just simply because sometimes the way that the surface flow is delivered to a site is through other private entities. It's not through the public irrigation district main source, and so the irrigation district can't always guarantee a certain amount of flow, and so sometimes that's when we need that supplemental well. So I'm sure, again, the applicant has had these considerations, they can speak to it. I will let you know for water, this is pressure zone 2. It's near a pressure zone 1 location. So you will be seeing a little bit of construction on Dorman here very soon, where we're going to be completing a PRV, a pressure reducing valve, to help with the connectivity from pressure zone 1 to pressure zone 2, so that we can have better pressure consistency and flows in this area. So we are doing a little bit of work, the Public Works Department will be doing a little bit of work this spring and this summer to just continue to make sure that the water in this area is meeting flow and pressure requirements. So when you see a little bit of work on Dorman, that's what's going on. Don't be surprised. It's just we're installing a little PRV.
No, I understand. I appreciate that. It doesn't alleviate the, concern I have with, and it's not just for Covington Place, it's everywhere around here. You can only move so many people in with a set water table and have no issues. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
So there's gonna be issues, period. But the density of this is concerning.
Okay.
So,
Well, Courtney, thank you so much.
thank you
for
so
sharing
much for your
story.
time. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
No, I appreciate your story. Thank you very much. Next to speak is Laura Shannon. Oh, it had do not speak, but would you like to speak? Yeah. Okay, come on up, name and address first.
My name is Laura Shannon. I live at 4707 Middlesboro Way. And may I show you a picture here?
I think that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Sunday morning traffic in front of the Catholic Church. And so this is Linden.
Okay.
But it also goes up Dorman.
Sure, I'll take a look at it. Do we need to take a picture of this, or do we need to have it as an exhibit?
Parking. I should have said not
Okay.
not traffic, it's the parking on both sides of Linden. And you don't get a full picture, but it goes up Dorman.
Microphone, so I can, perfect, thank you for sharing that.
Madam Hearing Examiner, Laura, if you could email that to the PZ email, that'd be great. That way we keep it in the record.
And then we'll keep that as exhibit 1002? Okay, and that way it can be part of the city council packet.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe
Yes.
email and explain your picture, and then send it to Joe, so then it can be part of the city council packet. So-
Okay, thank you. I do have one other question. The remark that you made about the developer needing to give enough space on his side of Dorman for improvements. He has control of his side of Dorman, but I'm assuming he has no control of the other side.
No, because he's not owner of that, so correct.
So looking forward, it is a local road, and if they're talking about eventually having a center turn lane or making it a city street, if you look at it now, the homes that are abutting the road on the east side, I would question whether they're even able to make a broad road
Those- yeah.
eventually without taking some homes out. So it seems like they should look at the whole picture before they allow all this traffic onto the road, the new development, which may never be able to be facilitated with an appropriate road. So,
Sure.
thank you.
And that makes it difficult. I know that there's a lot of times where they have to obtain extra right-of-way and people's landscaping, fencing.
Their front
Ha-
doors.
Yes, and so those are all logistic things that the city has to navigate,
Yeah,
unfortunately. Because, I mean, it would be nice for it to be, meet the city standards, have good drainage, have sidewalks on both sides, but getting there to that point can be challenging, which is what they have to deal with, not me, but
Yeah.
yes.
so I guess the question is the city not required to make sure that they can facilitate what they're enabling before they enable it? And so I guess that's my question, and I don't know if you have an answer or
she's
if
been
you
ready
even need
forever.
to give me an answer,
Haley's
but that's
like
my,
grasping for the microphone.
big
I think she's got
question.
it, yeah, she's
So-
gonna answer it. Hold tight and she'll get it to you.
thank you.
Yeah, so I'll answer your question. So absolutely, acquiring enough right-of-way is always a challenge that we have to have these roads fully built out. And oftentimes, we piecemeal it together with property owners, and then as we acquire right-of-way, that's when we can start looking at completing these improvements. So for this road section, if it were to meet City of Caldwell standard requirements, the total right-of-way width would be 53 feet. The total roadway width from back of curb to back of curb would be 37 feet wide. And then there would be 5 feet of landscaping, 5 feet of sidewalk and 3 feet of landscaping. So that 37 feet of roadway width, you're right, there wouldn't be enough for a turn lane on Dorman. And so I apologize. I know I mentioned a turn lane and I convoluted things by doing so. So the turn lane there would not be a center turn lane on Dorman. It would just be a residential street where typically it's unstriped, or it just has that one stripe down the center, recognizing that there's two-way traffic flow. On residential streets, we do have it wide enough for there to be a little bit of extra room, a little bit of extra maneuverability, but it would be about 18 and a half feet on each side of the road for your vehicle to maneuver. So if somebody wanted to turn left, there would probably be room for them to pull into the center and somebody to turn around them, but we would not have it striped in that manner. And we will just continue working towards acquiring right-of-way throughout our city as we are able to. Certainly, we're not in the interest of tearing somebody's home down to get curb gutter and sidewalk in, and so that's often why you see that we don't install curb gutter and sidewalk until that property develops, and it's that developer or that property owner who's developing the property that completes that curb gutter and sidewalk, so that we aren't tearing anybody's home down.
Thank you.
Joe, real quick, before I call up the next person, we obviously have a parking issue with the church. I'm assuming they have adequate parking. Has this been called in by code enforcement? I mean, I don't want to get them in trouble, but I mean, clearly,
Madam Hearing Examiner, nobody has alerted us to at least planning or code enforcement. No one's made a formal complaint. So I would say no. And as far as, I have no idea when those churches were constructed or annexed.
okay.
I presume that they would not meet current zoning standards for parking, but again, we do not go retroactively and make those things come in, because to some of the comments, they are grandfathered in some ways of whatever their use was before.
Correct. So they're not changing their use.
Correct.
Therefore, they can be grandfathered in.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And, because I mean, when that picture, which she'll show you, I mean, it's
Oh, I'm
packed.
sure that's any
Yes.
church have ever been around, pretty much.
Yes.
Is it always ends up having more cars than what they
Yeah.
parked for.
Okay, all right. Next on my list is Roger Howe. Does not want to speak, but come on up then.
Appreciate your granting me the opportunity.
Roger. Oh, give me your address real quick.
Yes, my address is 16121 West Linden, 16121 West Linden, which is to the west. We're in the county, and in fact, our property is along Farmway,
Okay.
immediately to the west.
So you're across the street.
Across the street.
Okay.
And so we actually would get irrigation water from the Pioneer Irrigation District on the south side of what is Covington Square. And in fact, in the early version of this, I was communicating with an engineer for the 29 home plat and dealing with estimates of irrigation water going under Farmway onto my place, okay, and getting an easement for that involving the irrigation district and myself. And apparently that this water line on the south is not on the map, and I'm wondering if that would, rather than run across all of these lots, whether that actually should be a buffer zone, and whether it's a ditch or it's a pipe, it's something that might not want to be in the back of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lots with a water line going in the backyard. Maybe staked or, I don't know, or a ditch. So that might be a way of addressing that water right and also providing a buffer.
Sure. Roger, typically within the subdivision, they have to, and again, Haley can interrupt me at any time, but they have to continue the conveyance of the irrigation water, and they can reroute it, rework it throughout the plat, and usually that's happened during the construction plans. I have seen it in the back of the lots, and I know that that's probably not ideal, but it would be piped, it would be underground. But typically what should happen, if this project gets developed, is that their engineer should come out and be talking to all the downwater stream users and work with them to make sure that the water keeps going to you at the conveyance it needs to.
Okay.
How did I do, Haley?
You did wonderful. You could be an honorary engineer today.
No, I don't want to, but thank you. Great.
I'm
Does
just
that
concerned
help?
Yeah, I was just concerned that it was omitted from the map and
No,
that
I
the
think that,
developer may not be aware of it.
Yes, so I'm sure the engineer is aware of it. It's just something that they really don't tackle. It's a lot of boots on the ground. They have to do analysis. They'll have to be talking to all the neighbors, all of the neighbors surrounding, and so that's usually not done until the construction part where the engineers get involved. But that is the normal, typical process, and I'll make sure the applicant addresses that
Okay,
during
thank
the
you.
rebuttal. Thank you. Let me make a note. Okay, next on my list is Jenny Howe. It was do not speak, but no, still, okay. John Sallin, speak. Hi, John.
Good afternoon, John Saline, 3314 Dorman Avenue. I'm going to make this quick because I think my community has really spoken
Sure.
for all of us. Just a couple of points. We moved in 25 years ago. We're on the west side of Dorman. We butt up against Farmway. We're about halfway between Linden and Eustic.
Okay.
100% of those houses on the west side are all oversized lots. They're 1 to 4 acres. My wife and I moved out there to get away, to have that quality of life, to raise our kids. We did it. And we just, a few years ago, had that conversation of, is this where we want to grow old? And it is. And now, as we look to the east, we see the city coming. It's okay. We understand that. Now we see it on top of us. And I think this 1 mile rural corridor of Dorman, especially to the west side, and I feel to the east side as well, the Dorman addresses are 90% oversized lots. We have 2 that are not. The rest are all 1 to 4 acres on the east and west. And I think we appreciate this quality of life, and we appreciate being in the county. We appreciate being on a well. And I would love to see the comprehensive plan revisited for Dorman and to make I don't want to say an exception, but to relook at this mature neighborhood, this mature community, all of us being there for quite a while, all of us not going anywhere, all of us rallying around what we like. I feel it should be a neighborhood one designation, a low-density designation with, you know, two lots per acre. That's how I feel, so thank you for your time, I
John,
appreciate it.
I do have a question.
Yep.
There was, when they updated the comp plan, they had a significant community outreach. Did you know about when the comp plan was getting updated?
No, I had no idea.
It clearly is something that sounds like you would have liked to have been part of, and
Certainly, yeah, certainly, but I feel like whatever got me charged up has now gotten me very involved in this process, and it means a lot to me. 5 years ago, busy raising the kids and working, and probably didn't pay as much attention. We saw Manchester come in. We weren't thrilled, but that was kind of kind of on Airport Avenue. But they do have an interest on Dorman. We see a lot of traffic that has increased because of that huge neighborhood. And now it's on Dorman, and now they're maybe possibly wanting to treat Dorman as Airport Avenue 2.0, but nobody wants to take ownership of Dorman. It's a county street, it's a rural street that the county owns. I don't see anything really changing with how it is. Again, everybody's pretty much said their concerns about Dorman. We have irrigation ditches along all of it, both sides, parts of it, and it's narrow. I don't know how we would widen it to make it Airport Avenue worthy. Does sound like if we do take over Dorman as a city street, we would want to probably build out Dorman like we are just everywhere else around Dorman. I'm here to fight to save Dorman, so we don't do that, because I don't want to see that happen.
okay.
So, cool.
Well, thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your testimony. Okay, next, I have Paul Webster. He would like to speak. Hi, Paul.
My name is Paul Webster from Caldwell School District. My work address is 1102 Laster Street. Just a few notes. You have my written testimony on behalf of the district, of course. And if I was to make the message simple, we have plenty of room to serve students. I want to commend the neighbors who care a lot about their place. That's pretty great. And I think, we want to do whatever we can to serve the kids and families in Caldwell, and this appears to be a great place for kids to land. There's a lot of people who care a lot about it. So one thing that, I think that all of us agree on is we don't want all the farmland between here and Homedale and Wilder and Marsing to be filled with houses. And we'd love for that to be in someone else's neighborhood. But in order for that to not happen and us to not lose all of our farmland on the outside, I think we do need to look at building closer to the inside. And for me, that's kind of east of Farmway Road, but obviously that's the neighborhood that belongs to these families as well. So, but I do think that we need to continue to look at that. How do we build a little closer and a little more towards the middle? Because it's a heck of a lot easier to buy farmland out there, and you don't have any neighbors to complain and show up, but I don't think we want that either. So on behalf of the school district, we'd love to serve the kids and families in this neighborhood and the neighborhoods surrounding that, and we have plenty of room.
Great. Well, Paul, it's really refreshing because we know Joey Palmer has the opposite to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, they have
always.
the opposite problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I would love, can we get the aerial back up? I know something that's really important to you is safe routes for the kids.
Yeah.
Can you show me where the schools are at in proximity?
You bet.
For the
Yeah,
site?
I'm gonna have to point at it.
Yeah,
and
that's okay.
Me pointing at your screen is different than me pointing at everybody else's screen.
Okay.
But the kids in this neighborhood would attend Wilson Elementary, which is on the corner of Linden and
Yeah,
10th
if you can
Avenue.
point up there so I can,
Okay, so that must be 10th Avenue going up there.
yeah,
And Linden, so it is a straight shot across Linden.
Okay.
But it is not a safe straight shot across
Okay.
Linden.
because
They're just not sidewalks.
there's a lot of out
Right.
parcel, county
Yeah.
parcels that
So
need.
this development would add sidewalks
So-
because
yes.
they're required to.
Yes.
But there's plenty of places that
Okay.
don't have sidewalks. There would be a safer route through the neighborhood, but that also is not sidewalked all the way to
Right.
Wilson.
Okay.
So we would bus them, and we currently bus kids in this neighborhood. Middle schoolers would go to Jefferson
Okay.
Middle School over on 10th Avenue, and then in 7th and 8th grade, they'd go to Syringa over on Linden. Again, they're within biking range, but it's not sidewalked, and there's not bike lanes.
Right.
So we do bus kids in that area. And then high schoolers, of course, would go to either Caldwell High or over on Indiana and or Canyon Springs
Okay.
on Fillmore. So it's close to a safe route to Wilson.
Okay.
But
But we're not there yet.
we're
So
not
like
there
in
yet.
your perfect utopia, you'd rather see there be interconnectivity pathways through the developments so the kids aren't walking on busy arterial roads, or what's your preference?
I would say that there should be a safe place where we could designate, hey, this is a way to get from here to there. And I would say we're probably 20 years from that,
Yeah.
you know? And you look at one development at a time, they put in safe ways, but they're not required to put in a safe route all the way.
No.
You know, that's
yes.
other people's land, and so, when possible, we look at, are there small sections that could be sidewalked and make the whole thing work?
Sure.
I don't think we're quite there. That would be quite a project in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate
you.
you coming down.
Yep.
Okay, next. Lynn Watermus? Oh, I butchered that. Sorry, Lynn. Tell me the correct way.
My writing isn't always what it should be. So my name's Lynn Waterman. I live at 1215 West Linden. So
Okay.
we're the out parcel right next to Covington.
Oh,
And-
okay, yes, you're
Yeah,
Teresa?
so-
Yes, yes, yes,
We'll look
okay.
to read and then so many other comments to make. But the developer's asking the city of Caldwell to move the goalposts on the commitment that the city made in the 2019 development agreement. 2019, the city agreed to allow Covington subdivision to move forward with 29 residential lots. The development was compatible with the surrounding area. I want to read just a few excerpts from the 2019 public hearing concerning Coventry. 2.4, it said the applicant is requesting low-density housing. And at that time, the residential density range was for single-family residential and not exceeding 3 dwelling units per acre. And in 3.1, it said the applicant stated that they contemplated 1,800 to 2,600 square foot homes, and the lot sizes would be 1/3 acre or larger, with average lot sizes of 0.37 acres and with some over 1/2 acre. So the development agreement of June 24th, 2019 contains a provision in Article 2, Paragraph 21 that says, quote, "In the event that any provisions of this agreement are more or less strict than the city code or other law or regulations in place at the time of development, the more stringent requirements shall apply." So the more stringent apply, I read that as the lower density, and that was what was in that development agreement.
And Lynn, you're reading that from what again?
That's from the 2019 development
It's a
agreement,
development agreement.
correct?
that I
And
haven't
I know, but I just want you, it's important for you to understand
Yeah.
that the agreement that was made then said that if there are more or less stringent codes, basically, the more stringent will apply. The annexation agreement shall be binding on the owner, their respective heirs, successors, and assigns. So, yes, it has been sold, but this made it, it made those provisions, it applied those provisions to anyone who would buy it in the meantime. It said any new or subsequent owner of the subject property or a portion thereof shall be liable for all commitments and other obligations arising under this agreement with respect to the subject property or any portion thereof. So this was all public information available to the developer at the time that he purchased the property. We're not asking the city to deny the developer any value which existed in the property at the time that he bought it. It's the developer who's asking the city to move the goalposts of the clear language of the 2019 development to allow subdivision that does not match the surrounding area. 59 lots on Covington are more than twice the density that the city approved of in the 2019 plat. Almost certainly the developer is seeking increased density because he perceives it will increase the value of the land that he purchased. This increase in value doesn't accrue out of thin air. It's value that's taken from adjacent neighbors whose property values are hurt by increased traffic, noise, lower water tables, and the inevitable LID, which will increase taxes. And it's kind of interesting that I wrote that then, because the planner, talking about fixing Dorman, made reference to the fact that to do that, they're going to have LIDs, which means increased taxes on the people who are already there. And the city doesn't want to pay for it out of their own pocket. And then just a couple other comments. If you hook up to city water, where does the city get its water? From the ground. And so it does lower overall water tables. And talking about the surface water should be used. The surface water rights that are there are at least 125 years old. And so Pioneer Irrigation delivers that water, makes it available, but they don't like to use it because it has mud and dirt in it that has to be filtered, and it has to be gotten. But that, actually, surface water, it ends up going into the ground and increasing the water table. And it's easier for them to just put in a well and suck it out because it's clean and it's where you want it. But I would like to see a requirement that when there is a surface water right, it's a previous right to any other water right that exists there, that they should be required to use that for surface water purposes. And I guess the last comment I would make would be about the traffic study. They say they don't have to have a traffic study because they're only 59, but when you look at the other developments that are going on there, it definitely is going to ultimately exceed the 100, and putting that in to Dorman without a traffic study just seems irresponsible to me. And those are my comments. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Lynn, thank you. As far as the surface water rights, Haley, can you discuss that?
Yes, absolutely, Madam Hearing Examiner. So the property owner will be required to use their surface water right first before they can use their well. However, we just sometimes require that supplemental well because they don't have sufficient surface water guarantee from the irrigation district.
They do. There's surface water. I know there's a surface water right for at least 15 acres there.
Right.
I know that exists.
I know that
I know it's not easy to get to. It may not be as easy to get to, and it may be more expensive to get to, but it exists, and that should be required.
Right, and I know that does exist. But what the issue is that often what we see is some irrigation districts will not guarantee the allotted water to developments. And so the way that the irrigation systems work with CMID is that they receive that surface water, and then if there is a shortage in surface water, and so it can't fulfill the requirements for the subdivision, at that point in time, the well would kick on.
So there's been, going way back, there's been a spill that is every summer, it's always full. And that's the Bardsley Gulch drain that goes right along there. All summer long is full of water. That water is all spilling. So I think it's extraordinarily unlikely that the irrigation district doesn't have plenty of water for surface water, and I would like to see that required.
Yes, so we will require, during construction documents that they fulfill their surface water right first.
Okay.
And then it's only at a point in time when the irrigation district will not guarantee that full amount, that they then need an additional well on top of that surface water right. But that surface water right will be fully fulfilled before a well would turn on.
Okay. And incidentally, the water right that goes to Rogers Place, it's actually pretty likely that the engineers don't know that there's an easement for that water right, because when we irrigated out of that before, if we wanted water, we just ran it through the irrigation ditch. And now that's not being irrigated. So that ditch doesn't exist anymore, but his water right in his easement still 100% exists. And that's where he has the right to get surface water across the top. So it is important that the engineers are aware of that and that they make provision to deliver him water.
Yes, absolutely, and I will make sure to speak with staff as well, that we specifically look at the properties to the south, as well as your property, to ensure that surface water rights are not being discontinued or damaged.
Okay. So, I mean, the final comment is that I do oppose the increase from 29 to 59 houses.
Sure, and Lynn, if you don't mind, so I feel like you're probably the most impacted by
Probably.
all the, and you've had correspondence and you've just talked with the developer. I know your wife was happy with that one buffer in the original application that has now been removed. What are your thoughts on that? Or are you happy with them just limiting to single story?
Well, I'm not very happy with the amount of buffer, and I don't know the best way. I mean, it would certainly help to increase the buffer back to what it was in the document that came out in 2019. I'm sorry, the one that came out in December of this last year, which
The
has
old
been,
application.
which has been redone.
The rezone one,
But-
yes, okay.
I'd be happier to not even have that and have the whole subdivision limited to 29 houses.
Sure,
So,
sure, okay.
anyway, so. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Jennifer Celine, did you want to speak? No? Okay. So as promised, that is everyone that has signed up. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak that has not spoke already? Okay. Now, the applicant needs to come back up. We have a list of items, and if you need more than 5 minutes, you got him, so.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Jeff Bauer, 601 West Bannock. I feel like you did most of my job for me already, but to the extent there are some additional questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I do want to apologize to both the neighbors and yourself for misstating the number of units. So just to be clear, 59 total units, 35 single-family detached, 24 single-family attached. One thing I wanted to highlight here that I didn't get around to in my opening testimony relates to just one more piece of the comprehensive plan that speaks to density. Of course, 2 through 8 is what's required now in the R1 zone, both in the zoning code and the comprehensive plan, and we are squarely within that. But your comprehensive plan also has this policy that says less dense housing should be found in areas further from major roadways and increase in density closer to major roads. So, as has been testimony provided by staff and neighbors, Farmway is becoming that corridor on the west side of the city. It will ultimately be 5 lanes with roundabouts, and this is the area where you want to put density in your city with close access to those sorts of major transit corridors. So that comes into play here as well, and one of the reasons why, in addition to the updated zoning code and comp plan, the update to 59 units is appropriate here. Water has been addressed well, and I won't reiterate anything except to say everything Haley said is correct. We do have surface water rights. We think they're sufficient. We will install a pump to utilize that water, but we'll also comply with city requirements for well redundancy. The fire letter my interpretation of that was just a typo. I think they're meaning Fire Station 2 instead of 12. Fire Station 2 is the closest
okay.
station. That was my understanding when I read that letter.
Okay, and let's get that, like I said, updated for.
Of course, yep. Mr. Dodson mentioned this as well, but I'll just reiterate, we will have privacy fencing around the entire perimeter of this community. There's also, I think, a statement that we may not have sidewalks. All of the local roads within this project will have sidewalks on both sides of the street, as well as the community pathways that I highlighted in my opening testimony as well. We are not proposing any apartments. I think there was a comment that they were adding apartments. Every home in this updated Covington Square will be a single-family residence under the definitions in the Caldwell City Code. I'm glad that the school district came to testify. That's rare and very welcome. This, of course, Caldwell School District is, as you mentioned, a slightly different scenario than many of our districts. They're looking for kids to fill their schools, and I think one of the things this community does is provide that range of housing options for families with kids to have homes near schools. So we are providing the mix of housing types. The townhomes will, of course, be less expensive and provide homes for families in the Caldwell School District. Parking. Interesting comments related to that. I understand there's pressure externally from maybe the nearby churches on the public roads. I do think, it's generally legal to park on public roads. But with respect to our project, the code would require 118 parking spaces, and we're providing 236. So nearly double the code standard. So we don't, unless something very, very wild happens, there will be no overflow parking out into the public roads beyond our local roads. We aren't maximizing density. I think that was a common refrain here. So under the new code, right, it would allow densities in the R1 zone up to 8 units per acre. We're well below that at 3.96. Again, just to toggle back to the slide here, there are existing single-family municipal subdivisions in this immediate vicinity that exceed our density in the 4s, many in the 3s, some in the high 2s. Will be right in there. It is compatible. And I know you've worked in the planning world forever. Everyone thinks their rural county lots of 3 to 5 acres will be there forever, but they won't. We saw it all throughout Meridian, right? You have these little in-holdings, and they do slowly develop, and they get annexed. And I suspect that's what will happen to this Dorman corridor as well. There's also, I think, a lot of testimony about this only benefits the developer or the landowner. And yes, of course, developing property is a business, but also this community needs homes. That's what the comprehensive plan says. And this plan benefits the city's current and future residents by providing more homes that are needed and helps with the affordability issues. Again, we are still requesting a low-density project. I think the staff report highlighted that well. There is no change in that respect. And lastly, I think, again, as it's been highlighted, we are here just about the pre-plat. We aren't here about the DA modification. That will certainly be an issue at City Council. But I think the issue today is, does this plat comply with the city's zoning code standards? And the answer is yes. And so with that, I'll stand for any questions, but request your recommendation of approval on the pre-plat.
Thank you for your rebuttal. As far as, I'm sensitive to the neighbors, and I'm sure you can understand that they're like, hey, we had this old plat in 2019, it was approved under this old code. Now we have this new project that, the density in their minds is more intense, and it's gonna be more impactful. How do you feel like you've handled and dealt with the neighbors on that concern, specifically the two neighbors that are to the south and the out parcel, because it sounded like you did have some buffering, now there's not.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. So I think overall, the effort here has been to provide the detached, single-family residential, 8,000 square foot lots, very large lots on the perimeter of this project. So that's the number one answer to the question is the overall design of this project buffers to our county lots that are adjacent. So that, again, number one. Number two, you know, the lots adjacent to the out parcel are very deep lots. The setbacks there will be significant. I know the minimum is 20 feet, but I think in reality, because of the depths of those lots, we're probably looking at 40 to 50 feet, plus the single-family restriction. Two issues that came up are, hey, let's give that out parcel that strip. I think that's something we'd be willing to do, but it's actually quite complicated because we're in a mixed jurisdictional situation, right? Can't do a boundary line adjustment because that's annexed property. There in the county, so there's no authority to approve that. And I think the issue with the buffer, and I've seen this in, you know, other communities, Star, for instance, wouldn't allow that because what you end up with is a 10 or 20 foot corridor with privacy fence on each side. And I think most people view that as unsafe. And again, we would be willing to do that. We just think it's a bad design.
What about increasing the setback? So you said 20, what about restricting the setback to 40 on all those back lots?
We would be willing to do that, absolutely. I think Mr. Trumbull, I'm sorry. I think 2 or 3 lots there in the southwest corner could have that increased setback. Again, those are very deep lots, 125, 130 feet. And then the 3 lots we identified adjacent to the out parcel could also have a 40-foot rear setback condition as well.
Would you be willing, you're still willing to commit doing single story at those locations or the one location?
In addition to the one we already identified, we would do the 2 lots on the southwest corner as well as single story.
Okay. Let's see, what else? There were so many comments. Sorry, Jeff, let me just make sure everyone. And then I know we've kind of like went over this, but I'm assuming when you guys originally did the design, you reached out to the highway district, you reached out to the city, and they specifically said those access points are prohibited. So,
Madam Hearing Examiner, you said it well. I think if we had our druthers, right, we would have more access. It's just we are limited, Farmway being a corridor that is restricted access, and then Linden having the future roundabout, and there not wanting to be any additional accesses there. I mean, we're limited in the sense of where the access can be placed. We did align our access with the other local street across Dorman. So yes, I mean, we've worked with within the constraints of the agencies and just the way the land is laid out here.
and then as far as traffic, because that's been the number one thing that we've heard consistently, how do you feel like this development's gonna impact traffic for that local road?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've responded to what the traffic experts at the city engineers have required. I think the other thing to keep in mind here is that the delta of traffic between the original 29 and the 59 will be very negligible. I mean, we're talking about probably 10 peak trips in the AM and PM peak hour. So as it relates to traffic between what's entitled in the DA and what we're proposing, I don't think there will be a meaningful difference.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Is there anything else that you would like to share with me?
No, thank you. Just appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
I will close the public hearing, and I usually don't give a lot of input into my decision. I really appreciate everyone coming out. I understand the concern. The issue that I have is that this site is already zoned. It's already entitled. By law, legally, they're meeting the requirements. Now, I am just a recommending body, and the DA and the plat will be heard by council, which has way more legroom, wiggle room as far as discretion. But me, as the hearing examiner, I have to look at it legally, and it's black and white. And they are zoned currently, they're annexed and zoned, and they are not asking for any waivers, they're not asking for any exceptions, they're meeting the zoning standards. So I'm gonna recommend approval, but I'm gonna recommend approval, Mr. Joe, with the increased setbacks along those lots, and I don't have the plat in front of me, so we need to call out those lots. The two that are abutting, the property to the south and to the out parcel, and that they have to be single-story as well. And I know that this isn't what you guys want to hear, but legally, I'm bound by what the site is zoned. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing based on the, based on the facts, findings, and testimony. I will recommend approval to City Council for this application. And it is 4:13. Jelly, did I have any, minutes from last that we need to, okay, so I didn't skip over that? Okay, good. It is 4:13, and I will close our public hearing. Thank you.